The Ravens host the Titans tonight. Preseason opener for both teams. ESPN's Jamison Hensley believes Lamar Jackson will be on the field for the regular season opener, even without a new contract.
For a player that was even thinking about not stepping on the field in week one, I think he would probably have been doing what they call the hold-in, report to training camp, but not participate in any of the drills. Lamar Jackson has been out there every single day.
Jamison Hensley on Key J and Max. Bills quarterback Josh Allen will sit out Saturday's preseason opener against the Colts. Quarterback Mitch Trubisky will start the preseason opener for the Steelers against the Seahawks on Saturday night. Mason Rudolph and rookie Kenny Pickett will also get some snaps in that game for Pittsburgh.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
If Daniel Jones was drafted by the New England Patriots and put in the same position Mac Jones is, are we seeing the same sort of results?
It's Friday with Key, J, and Max. It all starts at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
That's right.
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Muso. And Mr. Toby Tom Plate. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. A lot to get to today. There was an open practice out at LSU. I'll run through my notes, what Brian Kelly had to say. Maddy Hudak next hour. Rickie Collins did commit to LSU. His high school coach, former LSU quarterback Marcus Randall, will be here in hour number 3. All right, so let's just sort of empty the notebook, everything we were able to see. Pretty unprecedented. First time in about a quarter century, LSU had an open practice that was entirely open to the media. We got in about 9:45, pretty overcast. Rains came late. They wrapped things up just before noon, and at which point we got to chat with Brian Kelly. So about 2 hours out there watching LSU practice. A lot of individual periods. It was not a scrimmage. Individual periods, and they did team periods as well. We also got to watch some special teams. So we'll run through a lot of this here to start the show, and it'll take a couple of segments, so we'll get to a lot of your reaction as well. If you'd like to join, feel free to do so. First things first, let me not bury the lead. Garrett Nussmeier, Brian Kelly. Here was Brian Kelly giving an update on Garrett Nussmeier, who was limited today.
Just had a grade 1 ankle, so just limited today, but he'll be back probably taking 7-on-7 reps either tomorrow or Saturday. So very, very little. He's done a really nice job. So he just came down very similar to when, a basketball player comes down on somebody else's foot, very similar situation. And, he's recovered quite nicely. So just a minor ankle situation for him.
All right, so Brian Kelly giving an update on Garrett Nussmeier. Basically, when they were doing just throwing drills, like standing still and throwing, Nussmeier participated. When they did anything that required him to be on the move, he did not participate. He just stood in the back, and Jaden Daniels primarily took the first-team reps, which is kind of what we've seen at this point. No Jack Besh. Chris Hilton showed up later in practice and just caught balls from the quarterbacks on his quarterback-only drills. No Jordan Toles. Derek Davis was also absent. It was interesting. It was very interesting to watch a full practice, to take a bunch of notes from practice, and then immediately after practice to go listen to Brian Kelly, hear what he had to say about the things that we just saw and observed and what our opinions were. I thought about breaking this down offense, defense. Instead, what I'll do is kind of go through chronologically what we saw, and I'll make some observations as such. Right when we walked in, the offense was inside, the defense was outside, and the defense was kind of doing a pursuit drill. So initially, we got to look at what would be, you would think, the first-team defense, because you saw Ali Gay, you saw Mason Smith, Jaquelin Roy, and B.J. Ojulari on the line. But that's where things get a little interesting, because the first linebackers we saw out there were West Weeks and Greg Penn. The nickel was Greg Brooks. Your corners were Jarek Bernard-Converse and Colby Richardson, the transfer from McNeese, who got a lot of run today. And then your other safety was Major Burns. So there were, it was Major Burns and Mekhi Garner was on the field as well in a nickel. So there were, right off the bat, some very obvious observations there. I'm going to come back to that because the thing that stood out most defensively is they are going to be multiple, not only with their looks, but with their personnel. Again, I'll get to that in just a quick second. When the offense came out, the quarterbacks were doing target practice. Basically, they were around, maybe the 10 or 15-yard line, and there was a big target that they would put in the corner of the end zone, and the quarterbacks were essentially trying to hit the target. I mean, they were just throwing the ball at the target, 2-3 shots at a time, and then they would rotate. The biggest observation from that, I think all of them look good. They were throwing against air, and if you're a college quarterback, you should be able to hit a target in the end zone. But Walker Howard, I think, was the biggest takeaway. If you put all four quarterbacks on the goal line and just had them throw the ball as far as they can, Miles Brennan may have the best arm in that respect, but release, accuracy, zip, that's Walker Howard. Brian Kelly spoke about Walker Howard after practice today, and you could tell he's excited about him, and there's a lot of potential there just physically in his ability. So that was cool to see. We saw the wide receivers going through sort of a catch-through contact drill where they'd have to, there were coaches with dummies that were hitting the receivers as they were trying to catch the ball and then had to make their way back through, basically catching through contact. And most notably, the order was Butte, Kyron Lacey, Jeray Jenkins, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas, then the walk-ons. So as we mentioned, no Besh, no Hilton at that point. And what stands out is obviously what we've talked about. You are top-heavy at receiver. You got a lot of really talented guys there at the top, and you just don't have a lot of great depth at receiver. But the guys we saw today, I thought looked really, really good. When they went to the team period, and I'll get into some specific plays and some guys that stood out. So they were still running individual. They go into a team offensive period, and this is where everybody was kind of taking a look at the offensive line, as you might expect. And the offensive line we saw on Monday was the same offensive line we saw on Thursday. Garrett Dellinger was back at center. Will Campbell, Tremont Shorts was your left side. Your right guard was Miles Frazier, and your right tackle was Anthony Bradford. So the same line that we saw on Monday. What was a little bit interesting, Charles Turner did run as the second-team center, and the rest of the second-team offensive line was the same. So it was Doomerville at left tackle, Emory Jones at left guard, Turner at center, Cardell Thomas at right guard, and Cam Wire at right tackle. The two players that we saw cycle through were Marlon Martinez, ran some with the twos at right guard, interchanging with Cardell Thomas, and then at right tackle, it was Kimo Makaneoli, rotated with Cam Wire at second string right tackle with the twos. The team periods were interesting because we kind of got to see a little bit of a thud, and it was good on good. I mean, it was offense against defense, and they were in full pads. They were not tackling to the ground, but you got to see them run plays, and you got to see the defensive line get off against the offensive line, and you got to see the quarterback elude pressure and make throws under distress. Now, they weren't, there was no contact, no tackling, I should say. They weren't hitting the quarterbacks, but a couple of things. Running backs, John Emery, Noah Kane, Josh Williams, and Armani Goodwin. That was the order, and they all rotated fluidly. Like, all got reps with the ones and the twos. I mean, that was the order, but they just kept going no matter what line was out there. Same with the quarterbacks. When they went to team, Nussmeier, stepped back and did not participate, but Daniels, Brennan, then Howard took reps, and then it was just they went and repped it that way. The offense, I think, there was a couple of plays that stood out. One of them was probably the play of the day was a beautiful touchdown pass that Miles Brennan threw to Brian Thomas. It was down the right sideline. Brennan took the snap. He had a clean pocket and lofted a ball down the right sideline to Brian Thomas, who absolutely dusted poor guy. It was the freshman. It was Jalen Davis Robinson, who's the freshman cornerback out of Texas, 5'11", 185. That was the play of the day. The line held. Miles threw a beautiful ball down the right sideline, and Brian Thomas had his guy beat by 3 steps and took it into the end zone. That was a gorgeous play. It was interesting to listen to Brian Kelly after practice talk about Brian Thomas as well. This was interesting because you see the ability there, but Brian Kelly is pretty candid. We're learning in the way that he's addressing the things that his players need to work on.
He'll be a contributor. He needs to be a key contributor. There's a difference between a contributor and a key contributor in the sense that, as I look at it, the consistency of performance has to be such that he can step in and be a starter for us. I think at times, he still thinks he's a freshman, and he's not anymore. And we need for him to understand that it's time for him to go in there and think like a starter. And that's maturation, and he's getting there. We like his work ethic. He's very, very strong. He's actually, when we look at our numbers in terms of strength in the weight room, he's one of our strongest players. It's amazing what his raw physical ability is. Sometimes this is just a matter of maturation and coming along and actually probably making a play or two in an SEC game. And once he does that, I think you'll see this continue to grow.
So that was probably the play of the day offensively. I'll tell you 2 others. One, Walker Howard was in at quarterback, but the play, it was a block from Emory Jones. Emory Jones was at left guard, running with the 2s, and he was up against Jacoby and Guillory. Walker Howard was at quarterback, and this was a design quarterback run. It was snap and roll left. And there was 2 tight ends to the left side as well. So they started to the right, 2 tight ends moved to the left side, so you were heavy to the left side, and Emory Jones pancaked Jacoby and Guillory. I mean, it was like, oh, okay. I mean, the whole place kind of went, screamed and kind of oohed at that. Emory Jones also was on the first team with the punt unit as a protector. So it's very clear Emory Jones is going to play. He is not going to redshirt. He has got a role on this team. I'm not telling you to be as a starter, but they like him. He is physical enough, and he is going to play. If you're watching, that's the block where Emory Jones pancaked Jacoby and Guillory. It was a massively impressive play. And the third I will tell you was an individual play by Jaden Daniels. Garrett Dellinger did really well with the snap, except on one play when it started to rain. And Brian Kelly kind of made a joke about that in his post-practice press conference. But it was Jaden Daniels did a really good job. It was a low, wide snap. Daniels reacted, tipped it to himself. The rush was coming. He eluded the rush, rolled right, and threw a ball over the corner to it was Kyron Lacey on the sideline who was slanting toward the sideline. It was a beautiful play, and it's actually it is descriptive of how and why you're going to see Jaden Daniels pop, why he has a skill set to do what they want. He can elude the rush. There was a beautiful play where Jaden Daniels, when the pocket broke down, broke around the right end and ran for about 15 yards. That's the dynamic that he brings to this offense, and it's pretty clear that's the dynamic this coaching staff wants. So it was very interesting seeing that dynamic. All right, I got a break, but I'm not done. I want you to hear from Brian Kelly because, as I mentioned as we started, maybe the most interesting thing about the whole day, aside from what we wanted to see with quarterbacks and offensive line, was just how much fluidity and rotation there was on the defensive side of the ball at the second and third levels. We're going to get to that, and let's hear what Brian Kelly had to say when we continue on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Pluckers, Nicholson, just south of campus, Bluebonnet, right in front of the Mall of Louisiana. 28 flavors of award-winning jumbo chicken wings. Remember, tonight and every Thursday is all-you-can-eat boneless buffalo bites. Do you realize there will not be another Thursday without football until January, late January, that. you are going to have a football game every Thursday until January, through the rest of the year. So make Thursday night a great opportunity to get by Pluckers because it's all you can eat boneless buffalo bites. You got 2 NFL preseason games tonight if you want to watch, just because you need an excuse to go eat wings and drink beer, watch football on TV. Get by Pluckers, either location. Pay one low price every Thursday. Eat all you can eat boneless buffalo bites. It's breaded chicken tenders, fried, tossed in your favorite wing sauce, and it's all you can eat every Thursday at Pluckers. Nicholson, Bluebonnet, dining, carryout, or delivery. Pluckers, if you don't like our wings. We'll give you the bird.
3 people walk into a bar. The first 2 order the same old marks. The third, Nuevo Topo Chico Margarita Hard Seltzer. Crafted with real lime juice and the crisp tequila flavor. Topo Chico Margarita Hard Seltzer.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, continuing recapping LSU's practice on Thursday. It was an open practice. We got to watch the entire 2 hours and then chat with Brian Kelly afterwards. I want to talk a little bit more about the defense, and in particular what I kind of described as what felt at times like a turnstile. And maybe this was intentional. Maybe it's they are just throwing a lot at a lot of different guys to see who stands out and who rises. Or maybe they legitimately plan on using all of these guys. I mentioned when we first walked out and they were doing a pursuit drill, your 2 linebackers were Greg Penn and West Weeks. Now, when they went to team, and it was ones-on-ones, Your first defense looked like this. You had Ali Gay at one end. Your interior linemen were Jaquelin Roy and Mason Smith, as we know. B.J. Ojulari is not playing defensive end. He's playing the jack linebacker position. Brian Kelly talked about that. You'll hear that in a second. The only stand-up inside backer that was on the field when they went first-team defense was Mike Jones. So you had Mike Jones and then B.J. Ojulari, but Ojulari was playing the jack position on the end. Your outside cornerbacks were Jark Bernard-Converse and Mekhi Gardner, so 2 transfers. The nickel back was Greg Brooks, and then your safeties were Jay Ward and Major Burns. That was your first-team defense. It felt like literally every play, one of those guys rotated out, and somebody or some bodies new were on the field. We saw, obviously saw a ton of rotation at linebacker with the 2 guys I previously mentioned. You had Micah Baskerville rotate in there as well. We're going to have to get used to Desmond Little, who's wearing number 8 when B.J. Ojulari got 18. Little's wearing 8, who Kelly talked about. You hear that in just a quick second as well. We saw Joe Fouché playing deep safety. We also saw him playing box safety. We saw LaTerrence Welch run with the second unit. We saw Sage Ryan run first and second team. They had so many guys in the secondary, really at the second and third levels, both at linebacker and in the secondary, rotating so fluidly that it was almost impossible to keep up with who was actually in what unit. It wasn't like, okay, first team, you're up. Okay, second team, you're up. It was, aside from your defensive line, where there is very clearly a first unit that's going to be out there, everything else felt very fluid. Let's start with what Brian Kelly said about the linebackers. And by the way, I want to phrase the way this question was asked, and it was Leah Van from The Advocate who said, look, it seems like your first few guys at linebacker are set. And she mentioned Mike Jones and Greg Penn, and I believe Wes Weeks was the other that she mentioned. And Brian Kelly actually kind of disagreed. And based on what I saw, I think Brian Kelly is right. They have a lot of guys they're counting on right now.
Obviously, Harold Perkins can bring to that group. We've seen some, obviously Weeks is part of that. You mentioned Penn. I think that group continues to show, some depth there that wasn't there early on and maybe wasn't there even in the spring. So I know when talking to Matt just the other day, he's very encouraged with the depth. We really like what Micah's doing too, Micah Baskerville. I know you didn't see him a lot today, but he's going to be somebody that helps us this year as well, and really like his football IQ and his smarts. So I think when you finish, evaluating the linebacker position, I think there's 6 guys there, a minimum, that can play winning football for us.
It's interesting that he kind of had to prop up Baskerville at the end. We know Micah Baskerville can play. For whatever reason, he has not emerged in this defense. And I don't know if that's a timing thing, if it's a skill set thing, whatever it may be. But it is very clear B.J. Ojulari is going to be your starter at that jack position, and Mike Jones is going to have the inside spot, and they're going to rotate a lot of guys. And I believe him when he says they have 6 guys they feel like can play winning football, because we saw all of those guys taking reps with behind that first line earlier today. Now, the other thing about the defensive line is, and this is where Brian Kelly talks about Desmond Little. This is number 12. Because Little came in as a linebacker, but the way that they are structuring this defensive front, they're moving parts. I mentioned Ojulari's playing the jack position, and that's actually allowed them some depth, as you'll hear Brian Kelly say.
I think there was a little bit of concern on the edge. I think we felt really good about the defensive tackle position and the big end position, starting with Roy and Smith, obviously feeling really good there. And then, building out with Ali Gay, that right there is a very formidable group. BJ, playing the jack position, we wanted a little bit more flexibility, and Desmond Little has had a really good camp for us. And that's given us, a big lift, because we were considering maybe that we would have to, look at maybe Ali Gay playing, both positions and giving us a little bit more. But I think with Desmond playing really well at that jack position, it allows us to solidify that group Now it's just a matter of continuing to build the depth.
So they're not a 4-3. This is not going to be a 4-3 defense with 2 tackles, 2 ends with their hands in the dirt, and linebackers behind them. That much is abundantly clear. He told you he said it, the big end spot, and that holds because when the second unit ran out there, you saw Jacoby and Guillory and Mekhi Wingo as your tackles, and the big end, you saw Savion Jones run out there as well. I mean, and whoever was that jack position, Desmond Little. So you kind of got to look at what they're thinking about what their front is going to look like. But they ran a lot of nickel and dime, so sometimes you had like 1 true linebacker on the field. Sometimes it was 2. So that was maybe the big takeaway. Desmond Little stock rising because that's a name you got to get to know. Because of what they are specifically wanting their defensive front to look like and the skill set of the guys they plan to use. So get to know that name. And then there's the secondary where we all know Stingley, Ricks, McLaughlin, Flott, all gone. I mean, you basically lost you had 2 scholarship cornerbacks for the bowl game. They had to go address that. And I'll tell you, there were a couple of guys today who saw a ton of action. One of them is Colby Richardson. I don't know if Brian Kelly mentions him in this cut. He said his name a couple times in the press conference, but called him the wrong name. He called him the wrong name a couple of times in the press conference. Colby Richardson is a transfer from McNeese. He wears 22, and he got a lot of run today. Here was Brian Kelly on the secondary.
Really pleased. I think it was one where I think we all didn't know what to expect, but, whether it be younger players, older players, all of them have really shown in camp. Seven Banks is now, cleared for 7-on-7, and we see what his ability is. We didn't have Jarek Bernard Converse in the spring. Now he's out there. Mekhi, so an area where we were concerned has now begun to look like one of great depth. Major Burns being back brings a guy with a lot of smarts and savvy. So I just feel right now that the concerns that we had there are starting to be alleviated by the production in the play.
When you have a guy, that's a great way to put it. When you had concern, you added bodies, and you could talk about, well, you've addressed it because you've added bodies. That's very different than seeing it on the field. And look, a lot of plays that we saw, especially there was a time at practice where they were running a receiver DB drill. They did go 7-on-7 later, and during 7-on-7 is when Brennan threw the beautiful touchdown pass. But they were running just quarterbacks, receiver routes against DBs down around the goal line. They set up around the 5 inside the 10-yard line, and they were running a variety of routes. If you go look at my social media, I got a touchdown, real good video of a touchdown that Jaden Daniels threw to Cole Taylor over Major Burns. It was a beautiful play where Taylor went up, high pointed a ball, came down, got his feet in, held the ball through the ground. It was a really nice play. But you saw a variety of plays as well. There was a crossing pattern where I thought Jay Ward did a beautiful job getting underneath of Nick Storrs and batting down the ball. It was a crossing pattern in the middle of the end zone. You saw those DBs win a fair amount of battles as well. Mekhi Garner won a one-on-one with Kayshon Boutte. You don't worry about Kayshon Boutte. You know he's going to be spectacular. You want to see these guys, as Brian Kelly said, perform. You want to see them go out there and get their share of wins, because then it's not just guessing or thinking it's addressed because you've had added bodies and guys who have played at different levels of football. They're actually going out there and showing you they're winning some of these one-on-ones. And so there was a really good bit of that. There's so much more that I want to get into. One more, though, and actually, let me just very quickly go through just to kind of put a button on the practice report itself. We'll get to more what Brian Kelly had to say a bit later, but we did get to see special teams. Your punt returners look like right now Sage Ryan, Seven Banks, Malik Neighbors, and Javen Nicholas are the 4 that are taking reps right now, returning punts. Seems like Jay Bramblett has the lead for the starting punting job. And as far as place kicking, Brian Kelly said there is no separation whatsoever there as of right now. We did get to see our first look at Debert and Mata and those guys with the place kickers on the far field. But quite honestly, most of our time, I think, was spent watching the quarterbacks, the offensive line, the secondary, the linebackers, the places where there are position battles that, is going to draw them the most interest. But it was interesting to watch these guys catch punts and the way they did the drill. Like, they started with their back to the punter, and then the coach would tell them, all right, turn, and they had to find the ball in the air and then haul it in. And then Brian Kelly started throwing like a second ball at him as well. So they're working with those guys, but it looks like your punt returner is going to be one of those guys, either Sage Ryan, Seven Banks, Malik Neighbors, or Javen Nicholas, who's a freshman from Nicholas is a freshman from St. Aug in New Orleans. Where's number 33? All right, it's after further review. As I mentioned, a ton to get through. I mean, I think I got 6 pages of notes from today's practice and a bunch more that Brian Kelly talked about, including the offensive line, continuity there. We talked about Kyron Lacey, talked about the quarterback battle. So, and maybe most importantly, he talked in detail about tight end as well, because, we've talked about the lack of bodies at tight end. They were running 2 tight end sets. I mean, they seem pot committed and determined to having a tight end or tight ends on the field. So a ton of LSU stuff today. We're going to get into all of it. Maddy Hudak's going to give us a Saints camp report 30 minutes from right now. Shea Dixon will be with us next hour. We'll talk a little recruiting with Shea. He was at practice. Marcus Randall is going to be with us at 5:30 Central Time. Former LSU quarterback, Woodlawn High head coach. If you missed it, Rickie Collins, the Woodlawn quarterback, did commit to the Tigers on Wednesday night. So we'll talk to Marcus Randall about Rickie Collins coming up in 2 hours from right now. A ton of football today. Pumped to have you aboard with us. We'll knock out a break, and we'll go around the SEC next.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-0001. 752-0001. Call them today, 752-0001. That's where you find River City's 1 Hour Air. Remember, nights, holidays, weekends, they'll always come out, and they'll never charge you extra to do that. This is another 5-star review. It said, Mr. Ronnie was very polite, knowledgeable, and professional. He installed my Ecobee Smart thermostat and got me to sign up for the monthly club, which saves me on maintenance, repairs, and costs. I'm a member of that as well also. He also cleaned out my coils on my outside unit for free. Highly recommend River City's 1 Hour Air. Another 5-star Google review. There's not many customers or not many companies that are going to insist you go read their reviews. With River City's 1 Hour Air, I say it every day because you're going to see thousands of reviews like that. 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime.
For over 53 years, customers have been heading to Happy Town for the Corval Toyota experience. Why? Because they choose to get an outstanding price and amazing customer service. Want the same and get treated like family? Then Corval Toyota in Opelousas is the dealership for you. Corval vehicles have been cruising around Acadiana for 5 decades. Corval Toyota is here to stay, and we want to keep you rolling. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corval Toyota in Opelousas. Happy Town, USA.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese?
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
It's nothing's nice about football. I mean, you gotta be mean. I mean, you want the guy across from you to hate your guts. I mean, if the guy across from you hates you, like, you're doing your job. So.
Oh, I love him so much. It's actually kind of uncomfortable how much I love Trevor Penning, considering he's about to play in his first preseason game of his rookie season. I just love the attitude. Incredible. Trevor Penning met with the media today after Saints practice. Of course, in the first week, Penning was a big topic of conversation because he got into fights 3 different days with 3 different players and got run from practice after he and Malcolm Roach tussled. But he was asked today if he took it too far early in camp.
I think personally, I went to the whistle. I played my game, and we're competing. We're competing out here. Football's physical. It's tough. So I think there's maybe a couple that were like, okay, I got to maybe chill. And my coaches, they said that. I mean, they're like, okay, can't do that. I'm like, okay, and you learn from it, and you get better from it. But I'm not going to take away the physical part of my game. But I'm going to be smart with it.
I love that he's unapologetic. You would. It's been said before, but you'd rather have to, as a coach, have to tell a guy, hey, look, let's harness this, instead of trying to light a fire under somebody. Like, he's got that, and he's unapologetic. Like, I'm not changing the way I play. And he even said, I played to the whistle. And, one of the big things that I guess when last week I went on this glorious rant about Trevor Penning and how much I love his style and his play and all that sort of stuff. And if there was one piece of feedback, criticism that I got from some of you, it was, yeah, but that's going to cost the team. I don't know that, and I need to go, admittedly, see if I can do this research, but I don't recall in the conversations we had with Northern Iowa reporters or anything like that after the draft, anybody saying penalties were a problem with Trevor Penning. It's not like he was routine. I mean, this isn't Vontaze Burfict here. I mean, it's not like he's routinely getting run out of games and flagged 15 yards. Like, he's a physical player. And I love that. If it gets to a point in games where he's being flagged for it, okay, then you tone it back after the whistle. But, man, I'm not going to ever criticize a guy for going hard. I don't care if it's in practice. It's the first week out there, and he's trying to make a statement, and it's what he did and what he continues to do. So I love it, man. I'm excited to see Trevor Penning. All the physicality talked about, I love. Can he actually hold up? One thing we haven't talked about is, can he actually hold up against elite NFL edge rushers if he's playing left tackle? And we'll start to get a look at that when the Saints play the Texans on Saturday in Houston. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad to have you aboard with us here. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com. Again, southpointvw.com. If it's on the lot, it's online. So start there. Go to the website, southpointvw.com. If it's the Atlas, if it's the Tiguan, Jetta, Passat, 9 different IIHS top safety picks. So you can find the vehicle that best suits your needs and know that you're driving one of the safest vehicles on the road. That's stylish, the great German engineering, the style, the feel, the performance of luxury without the cost. That's South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland, Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction? All right, we do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, excellence in imaging solutions. The Alabama Crimson Tide.
A wide receiver, Jojo Earl, has an injury, fractured his foot. He's expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. Nick Saban confirmed it. Earl was freshman All-SEC a year ago as a return specialist. He was expected to compete for a starting job as a receiver this fall. Earl did miss 4 games last season because of a leg injury. Crimson Tide are replacing their top 3 receivers from a season ago.
The Auburn Tigers.
Starting guard Keandre Jones has been banged up early in fall camp. He was actually held out of practice a couple of days early in camp and was in a limited capacity. Jones, 6'4", 330, Auburn's starting right guard for much of the last 2 years. He's appeared in 24 career games with 20 starts on the offensive line. He is expected, however, to be a full go when Auburn takes the practice field Thursday afternoon. So Auburn's offensive line returning to health.
The Florida Gators.
Florida has added another commitment for the 2023 class. This time it is 4-star linebacker Jaden Robinson, who they flipped from South Carolina. So he's from Florida, committed to South Carolina back on the 4th of July, but now just a few weeks later has committed and flipped to the Gators. Robinson used his official visits to Maryland, Kentucky, and South Carolina. He's the 17th commitment for the 2023 class. He's the number 379 overall prospect in the country.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
And in their first game in the Bahamas since 2018, Kentucky opened its 4-game 2022 trip by rolling past the Dominican Republic select team 108-56. Damian Collins had 15 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, blocked 2 shots. Oscar Sheboy led the Cats with 17 points. Kentucky back on the floor tonight, Thursday night, when it faces Tec de Monterrey at 6 o'clock Central Time on the SEC Network or the Kentucky Sports Radio Network. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to our guy Trey Beal and our friends at Gulf Coast Office Products online at gcopnet.com. Trey Beal and the gang do an awesome job. Face-to-face sales, service after the sale. Official office equipment provider of the Saints, the Pelicans, the LSU Tigers, and the ULL Ragin' Cajuns. Baton Rouge, New Orleans, North Shore, Lafayette. So if you need an office equipment provider, they can get to you same day or worst case scenario the next day by 10 a.m. That's Gulf Coast Office Products. Online, gcopnet.com for Gulf Coast Office Products. Had Scone and Tea last night over at Oliver Twist. T-Bob did it again like he does every week, as you'd expect by now. Last week made a off-color remark about the age of whiskey and the age of consent. It is presently at 1.8 million views on TikTok. If you would like to see the completely uncouth things. Muse, you were there, but I know you don't really get to listen to the show. You don't put headphones on, do you?
Very rarely. They're
all right, so it's great. Our
levels.
on-site producer never listens to the show.
They're check levels.
Right, for sure. So did you hear at all what T said yesterday?
I did not.
Oh.
What was it?
No.
Oh.
Don't ask questions. I will not talk about it. If you would like to know, you can go look at my TikTok, and it's clipped there, or you can go listen to or watch the full episode. I believe the podcast will be up shortly, if it's not already, at Drop Biscuit Studios or iTunes, Spotify, or you can go watch on the Watch 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel or the Facebook page if you want to. But at your own risk, you know, NSFW, if you're easily offended.
Is this one better or worse than
that's such a subjective term.
Okay.
What is better or worse when you're talking about the absolutely horrendous, uncouth topics that T-Bob turns into jokes on Scone and T.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So, but if you're into that sort of sordid humor, it's there. Just look at my TikTok at Matt Moscona. You're willing to go check it out. Moscona. Get the vowels right. Okay, we'll knock out a quick break, wrap up hour number 1. Maddy Hudak in 15 minutes with our Saints practice report. Don't you move.
AFR.
So there's an AFR listener. We have a very large female audience, as you might expect. Women in South Louisiana love their football, love their sports. Miss Esther, avid AFR listener, had been with Liberty Mutual for 7 years, so had pretty good coverage, but was just overpaying. Insurance Network of Louisiana saved her $2,500 annually on her home and auto, increased her auto coverage by $100,000, got her better coverage, and saved her $2,500 a year. How much money could you be saving every month on your insurance? Until you call Insurance Network of Louisiana, you won't know. And again, there is no catch. It is free to have them shop for you. 293-0450, 293-0450, or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Before we begin any electrical work here, we perform a home safety check that begins at your electrical panel to make sure that you and your family are safe. For all your upgrades, installations, and repairs, call Mr. Electric.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford has $14,000 off MSRP on a new 2021 Ford F-150. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite has more.
I am on a 24-hour champagne diet, spilling while I'm sipping. I encourage you to try it. I'm probably just saying that because I don't have to buy it.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans. Alexandria.
Football season is just around the corner. Get ready to make your picks for this year's 104.5 ESPN Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em. Register now at 1045ESPN.com. Weekly winners will receive a $50 Twin Peaks gift card, and the first place season-long champion will receive a 75-inch 4K flat-screen TV. It's the 2022 104.5 ESPN Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em.
Shea Dixon's going to join us in about 25 minutes from right now. We'll talk about Rickie Collins committing to LSU, what's next. And Shea was at practice, so I'll get some of his observations as well. Garrett Dellinger was, again, running with the first team at center today. Here was Brian Kelly after practice on the sophomore snapping the ball.
Today I thought was a huge test. He has to call out fronts, he has to direct the offensive line, and he's got to snap the football. And other than the time we got the downpour there where I'll blame our managers for not giving him a dry football, we had one bad snap.
And as I mentioned earlier, the one bad snap actually turned out to be, as I recall, a productive play. Jaden Daniels kind of tipped the ball to himself, rolled right into a beautiful pass to Kyron Lacey on the right sideline. But it's fundamental. It's almost overstating it, but you have got to get the quarterback center exchange. I mean, it's the most important thing. If you can't effectively get the ball back to the quarterback, then everything else is irrelevant. You have to start with that. It's why Chasen Hines never became a center. They repped him there to start 2020, and he could not get the snap. And that's why Liam Shanahan ultimately played center, because Hines couldn't get the snap. So I think sometimes we take it for granted because it's supposed to be automatic, but it needs to be automatic. And today was a good day for Garrett Dellinger snapping the football. So we'll talk much more. We will elaborate more on the offensive line as Brian Kelly did today. And I want to talk about the tight ends because Brian Kelly highlighted Mason Taylor, freshman. And what he said about Mason Taylor was really impressive. So we'll get to that at the bottom of next hour. All right, Saints camp update with Maddy Hudak in less than 10 minutes from right now, right after SportsCenter. But on the ESPN Daily podcast, this was pretty interesting. Jeff Darlington did a little revisionist history where he was talking about after 2019 and just how close the Saints were to signing Tom Brady.
I don't think that people give it credit enough how close Tom Brady was to playing with Sean Payton in New Orleans. Had Drew Brees ended up as the Monday Night Football analyst at our network, Tom Brady would have ended up with the Saints.
Man.
Instead, Drew Brees decides to return during, by the way, what was an offseason of a lot of questions with Drew Brees and whether he was ultimately. He at one point walked into Sean Payton's office and said, "I'm done, I'm retired." So it was so close to Tom Brady ending up with the Saints and Sean Payton. Their relationship was established.
Many know this, but Sean Payton and Tom Brady have the same agent, Don Yee. So that relationship with Tom Brady and Sean Payton was there. And this has kind of become front and center again because of what's happened here with the Dolphins, where Miami made a very clear and obvious push to get both Sean Payton and Tom Brady there with the Dolphins as the coach and quarterback. And so Darlington was referencing just how close this was to being an actual thing back in 2019. You want to talk about a butterfly effect? For people in these parts, the biggest what-if sort of butterfly effect connect the dots is always Drew Brees in Miami. If the Miami Dolphins doctors had cleared Drew Brees, the history of the Saints, of LSU, of Alabama, of the Dolphins is all very different. Because if the Miami Dolphins doctors, physicians clear Drew Brees, then the Dolphins sign Brees. And Brees never comes to New Orleans. So do the Saints ever win at a high level? Don't know. What direction would they have gone? Short and long term. Does Drew Brees become a Super Bowl winning quarterback with the Dolphins? If so, Nick Saban never leaves Miami. Who does Alabama hire? Is the greatest dynasty that we've seen in college football history, Nick Saban there in Tuscaloosa. Does this this obviously never happens, but who does Bama hire? Another in a long line of Dennis Francione and Mike DeBose and Mike Shula. I mean, y'all know the list. I mean, that is that is the fascinating butterfly effect. But what about this one? What if Drew Brees had retired after 2019 and Tom Brady comes to the Saints? Is Tom Brady still the Saints quarterback? If the Saints won multiple more Super Bowls, is Sean Payton still the coach today? Who ultimately goes and coaches in Tampa? You have the domino effects of who would be quarterbacking in Tampa, and it's a fascinating look. The offseason controversy with Drew Brees and the anthem air quotes controversy that had happened. It's a fascinating what if as it plays out, but apparently it was very close. All right, Sports Center. Then we get a Saints report with Maddy Hudak coming up next.
AFR.
As we put a button here on hour number 1, I want to remind you about GMFS Mortgage and GMFSmortgage.com. Changing lives since 1999. Home buy, refi, construction loans. They do it all at GMFS Mortgage, and they do it better than anyone else in the state. That is objective fact. GMFS Mortgage is our state's largest local lender, and they're actually number 11 in the country for the top USDA lenders in 2022. GMFSmortgage.com. Here's what I encourage you to do. Go to the website, hit the loan officers tab there at the top of the page, GMFSmortgage.com, GMFSmortgage.com. Hit the loan officers tab right there at the top of the page. And then you can search for a loan officer based on your address. Just punch in your address, and it'll spit out who the loan officer is nearest you. GMFSmortgage.com, GMFSmortgage.com. That's where you start. Go to the website, GMFS Mortgage, changing lives.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The NBA announces today uniform number 6 will be retired throughout the league to honor the late Bill Russell. Players currently wearing number 6, including LeBron James, can keep wearing it, but the number will not be given to any other players. Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins is sent home from training camp today with an undisclosed illness. That makes it unlikely he'll play in Sunday's preseason opener against the Raiders. The Jaguars will host the Browns tomorrow night. ESPN's Dan Graziano.
My bold prediction is that the Jacksonville Jaguars make the playoffs. I know Damian Woody told me earlier in this show that I was nuts, but I think Trevor Lawrence is going to just explode this year. I think Doug Peterson is a great coach and exactly the right coach that they need, and a massive, massive upgrade, obviously, over what they had last year.
Dan Graziano on Get Up. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Jets will sign free agent offensive lineman Dwayne Brown to a 2-year contract worth $22 million. Patriots running back and 4-time captain James White retires today after spending his entire 8-year NFL career in New England.
Long summer days call for extra hands. Hire fast with Indeed. Their hiring solution helps attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
Let's ride.
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Matt, I am sweating. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Musu. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there, make it a good one. Tigers got a commitment from Rickie Collins, quarterback at Woodlawn last night. Shea Dixon joins us in less than 15 minutes from right now. Rickie Collins' coach, Marcus Randall, former LSU quarterback, with us in hour number 3. We'll look forward to that. Every day, the Saints are in camp. Maddy Hudak serving as our camp correspondent. Good enough to join us again here as the Saints continue rolling along through camp, heading toward the first preseason game Saturday in Houston. Maddy joins us now. How are you?
I'm good. It's always good when Herb Jones and Trey Murphy and Teaspoon make an appearance at Saints camp.
Hey, has that been pretty common that they've had, I want to say, dignitaries or special guests like that throughout?
Yeah, Devontae Graham was there the other day. They kind of just walk on and observe kind of quietly in the corner. But it's really cool to kind of see those two teams really come together. You could see Herb really watching the defensive backs. Everyone was really curious if he would ever take a snap.
Not on Herb. It actually might translate. That would be pretty cool. See like a 6'7" dude out there in the secondary. See how it goes. By the way, yesterday Michael Thomas was the story, right? I mean, it was the offense kind of ruled the day. As I understand, they sort of flipped roles, and it was more of a defensive day?
Yeah, the defense definitely won today. You could kind of tell that they took yesterday a little bit personally. And, Belton, he had a little bit of an off day. He was 2 of 6 and connected on his last 2 passes. And there was, an incompletion to Thomas that he looked a little frustrated about. But really just the defense, I would also equally credit them with really, really strong coverage.
Maddy, what about as far as defense, some of like the comings and goings, Lattimore, Bond, Alontae Taylor? Can you give us an update on some of those guys and their status?
Marshawn Lattimore, this is the first time we had seen him out in practice since he left with that injury. He was working off with Charles Bird, one of the trainers, off to the side during practice. We did see Zach Bond out there. I'm really not sure what is wrong with him. Didn't look like he was doing any work out there. And then Dennis Allen said after practice that Alontae Taylor is dealing with a hip flexor, but he said it's not too serious. So just kind of, again, keep seeing those chess pieces kind of fill in for these guys. But it was really good to see Lattimore back on the field.
No doubt. By the way, when Lattimore's not out there, is it Bradley Roby filling his spot on the outside?
It was Alante Taylor last week quite a bit, but Bradley Roby more so, yeah. He had been filling in for C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the slot, taking first-team reps, but he's now kind of stepped into Lattimore's slot, and he really deserves some credit this training camp. So he said in his press conference at the beginning of camp that it took him a little while. You forget he was traded for 4 days before week one, and, saying that it's kind of a complicated defensive system back there. He shined at slot. He signed in cornerback. I've even seen him drop back and split safety. I think he's up to 5 interceptions now, including one today.
Maddy Hudak is with us, our Saints camp report. What about the quarterbacks? Andy Dalton had a good day yesterday. Still no Jameis. So, and how did they look today? Dalton, Book, and did Costello participate today?
Costello, I don't recall seeing him, taking snaps under center. He was working with the quarterbacks, but didn't really see much of him. Wilson, like I said, kind of had more of an off day, but just the offense in general looked a little off, a little sluggish. I don't know if, the heat or the tiredness is just kind of getting them, but I thought Ian Book impressed a little more today. Andy Dalton is definitely the star of yesterday. And Book, the only knock I'd say on him is he holds on to the ball way too long sometimes. He should have had 2 sacks and Peyton Turner to get a sack on him, and I think passing on, and I think maybe Granderson had a combined sack. Sorry, it was Jordan Brown. But Ian Book showed a lot of poise in the 2-minute offense. We didn't really get to see him in one last year in the preseason. He threw an incompletion and then ended the game with an interception. But after kind of throwing a few incompletions, he completed 3 straight, threw a really nice ball to Quan Baker deep up the middle, and really seems to have a good tempo and mental toughness of shaking off those drives. So I think we'll see quite a bit of him this weekend, and I'll be curious to see kind of what he does in a real game setting when he's holding onto the ball for too long. The pass rush will hit him in the preseason.
I remember the interception. It was kind of a Hail Mary under duress at the end of the game. Was that against Baltimore?
It was.
Yeah, okay. It's funny you said that. It just sparked my memory. By the way, do we know how the quarterback reps are going to be divvied up on Saturday yet?
I had to run from the press conference, unfortunately, because I had to go to Tulane. But I think that Ian Book is going to get quite a bit of time, and so is Dalton. I think that they said they're still finalizing kind of that depth chart and what we'll see this weekend. But I would be surprised, if we saw a lot of KJ Costello. I guess, it might be valuable for him to get a quarter or so. But I really think that we'll see both Book and Dalton take valuable time there because, at least for Book, last year he was behind Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, Trevor Siemian. This year, he's suddenly with Jameis Winston out. He's second man up at this point, so he kind of has to get reps, and so does Dalton. I hate to say it, but the Saints have lost a quarterback quite often in the last couple of seasons, so that QB2 really has to be just as sharp.
Maddy, flip it back over to the defensive side, and the other defensive backs that stood out today on a day where it was dominated by defense. Who caught your eye?
Definitely C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and I think he gets a lot of unfair flack, and how he's fared in one-on-one drills. And Dennis Allen made a really astute point afterwards, saying that those are skewed towards the offense. It's a single route. The quarterback knows where he's going with the ball. He doesn't have to read any defense. And when you're in the slot, you're not typically carrying receivers deep that often. It's not like he's Marshawn Lattimore out there, but he had a really, really good practice today. He definitely bounced back. He had a couple pass breakups and just some really tight coverage. And, it's safe to say he's kind of reassumed that starting slot role.
What about J.T. Gray as well? I heard he had a good day.
J.T. Gray had the tightest coverage on Taysom Hill that I have seen throughout training camp. He had him absolutely blanketed. It's the first time I've actually seen someone take Taysom Hill away as an option. Otherwise he's been literally impossible to stop. He had a touchdown from Book, and really kind of that red zone threat that I think, the idea with Jared Cook was supposed to be. But J.T. Gray is very quietly solid back there. He's played some snaps at free safety. He's taken some at strong safety. He's stepped in at, split safety coverage. But his blanket coverage with physicality and remaining completely in phase with Taysom Hill was my highlight of the day, even though, it's not like he was thrown to, but that's kind of the point of great coverage.
Yeah. Maddy, before you go, can you touch on Will Lutz as well? It's probably, I should have been asking more about him. I mean, that was such a big factor a year ago not having him, and what a revolving door place kicker was. Does Will Lutz look like he's close to or at 100%?
Oh, well, if you think 31 out of 32 field goals so far seems to be pretty good for me. And only miss was on a 57-yarder that he kicked right after the fact. So, yeah, you forget how valuable a kicker is until you don't have one. And kind of during last season, I had gone and looked back at the 2018 and 19 season. If you just kind of look how those games ended, there was a Cleveland game where they barely beat the Browns, the Falcons, Baltimore, where Justin Tucker missed his first extra point of his NFL career. And those records could have easily flipped with 5 games in 2018 and 2019 that he came in really clutch. And you think about the games last year that were lost by a field goal or 2 missed field goals for that fact. I think Lutz will, quite frankly, be one of the most valuable players on the team this season.
Yeah, keep that guy healthy by all means. I mean, it's just the margin. We all know it. The margin in the NFL is just so small. You got to have a guy like that. That's why the Ravens are paying Justin Tucker what they're paying him. Maddy Hudak, she's on Twitter at Maddy Hudak _94. You'll give her a follow as long as the Saints are in camp. She's giving us our daily Saints reports. Maddy, we appreciate it. We'll talk again. Well, I guess we're not going to talk tomorrow. We'll talk again on Monday.
All right, sounds good.
We'll look forward to it. Thank you so much. That's Maddy Hudak. This is After Further Review. Shea Dixon will join us when we come back. Talk a little recruiting as Tigers pick up a quarterback. And Shea was out of practice today there at LSU, so we'll get Shea's thoughts on what he saw from the Tigers as well. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Buying or selling a home, commercial or residential, you know what to do. Call Darren James. 335-7666, 335-7666, or agent225.com. You want to have an unbelievable process and get results? Darren James is the only number you need. 335-7666, 335-7666. It's actually kind of stunning sometimes when I talk to Darren. He'll say, my career goal ultimately is to put myself out of business. Think about that. He wants to make a process, a home buying or selling process, so easy, so efficient that you don't even need Darren or a realtor. But when that's your focus, when your focus is solely on your customer, you can't help but get great results. That's why Darren's on the Wall Street Journal's list of the top 1% of realtors in America. Call Darren James. Get your home sold.
Think real estate. Think Darren James.
For over 53 years, customers have been heading to Happy Town for the Corval Toyota experience. Why? Because they choose to get an outstanding price and amazing customer service. Want the same and get treated like family? Then Corval Toyota in Opelousas is the dealership for you. Corval vehicles have been cruising around Acadiana for 5 decades. Corval Toyota is here to stay, and we want to keep you rolling. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, LSU picked up a commitment on Wednesday night from Rickie Collins, quarterback out of Woodlawn. It was certainly expected, but it became official. They flip him from Purdue. Shea Dixon, who was at LSU practice earlier today. We'll get some practice observations in just a moment. Shea joins us now. Shea, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Matt?
Very well. So I'm going to go ahead and assume you, everybody else, were expecting Rickie Collins to pick the Tigers, so no great surprise last night?
No great surprise. I mean, he's one of the last big quarterback dominoes that was out there, right? And he had been committed to Purdue for a good amount of time. And I think everybody, as he began to get nationally recruited and certainly recruited by LSU's prior staff and this one, that, hey, this kid could be on flip-flops, right? Like, will a South Louisiana kid stick with Purdue when he's got, a lot bigger programs knocking on the door? And he stuck with him for a while, but then opened things back up and in pretty short order turned around and set up an announcement and revealed that LSU was his choice. And it continues, Matt, really, it's been a red-hot 41 days. They went from July 1st, they were ranked 49 in the country and had 5 or 6 commits. 41 days later, they're ranked, I think, number 6 now in the country with 19 commits. And it's been a red-hot, not just run overall, but Rickie, and you had Shelton Sampson last weekend. You had already picked up Caleb Jackson, and they've got Kylan Jackson over at Zachary, soon to announce. So, kind of a run on Baton Rouge guys as well, which is always good.
I love the video that he posted where he said his caption was, "I reconsidered." Of course, the hashtag was Rickie reconsidered. How much of Shea, look, you've covered recruiting a long time, and you know that for a lot of the guys, the game is played and what they actually pay attention to and care about. How much of a deal have the hashtags, the trending hashtags, been for these guys?
I was joking about that with some people around the industry, and I said, I was the first one that laughed and said, this is where we're at, right, of the nonstop hashtagging, and, we've got now behind, the team's doing it, and the other recruits are doing it, the commitments are doing it. But what can I say when the kid gets up there and, as you said, unzips his jacket and reveals LSU, and he says, Rickie reconsidered, and that was the hashtag. So, very clearly they're paying attention to it. And, hey, the Shelton stays, that became sort of a theme of Shelton Sampson's announcement. So while I guess I tabbed it as corny, I'm also not getting paid to recruit a bunch of guys up there. And the people who are obviously setting a good foundation, because these kids and the team are seem to be all about it. Hey, look, I haven't seen a whole team. Like, recruits do that kind of stuff all the time. They'll be in the mentions and all that. But you've got an entire roster of guys tweeting about high school prospects, hashtagging about kids staying home and things like that. And to say that wouldn't matter to a 17-year-old would probably be lying.
He's on Twitter at Shea Dixon. So Rickie Collins is now a part of the class. They're firmly ranked 6th overall, I guess, depending on which service you subscribe to. What else is next for them? We know that there's be an announcement coming up on Saturday, but what else seems to be in the pipeline here, Shea?
I continue to look at, yes, Kylan Jackson out of Zachary's got LSU on his short list, his final list, and he's a top 10 level safety in the country, right here in the Baton Rouge area. He'll announce Saturday. if you get him, that puts you at 20 commits. And we know now with the ability to oversign and get transfers, they've got a good bit of wiggle room moving forward. And they've got a lot of out-of-state kids. I mean, look, Bravion Rogers, a top 5 corner, was committed to A&M. He just decommitted and is now saying, hey, kind of trending. I think there were even some hashtags with him already involving the recruits.
Of course
team.
there are.
So there's kids out of state, but I like the run they've been on here in the state. They've got, I think that was 6 guys. This could be 7 guys with Kylan Jackson. They normally end up in that 10 to 13 range of guys you're taking in state, if I were to average it all out. And you still got Zalance Hurd, offensive lineman over at Neville. I know they're recruiting Kai Preen, a wide receiver, DB, kind of a pure athlete out of St. James. So there's a number of guys, I'd say a handful, still around the state that they're still pressing. Heck, even guys like coming out of Westgate, Derek Williams, who committed to Texas shortly after Arch Manning did. He's a guy that's firmly in LSU country as one of the best DBs out there that they won't give up on. I don't think he'll give up on a guy who's soon to announce coming out of Woodlawn as well, in Jordan Matthews, who a lot of people think might end up at Texas, but a long way from signing day. So I would continue to keep an eye, not just what they're doing out of state and making a big splash with, top 100 players, but how they continue to knock down some of these dominoes inside the state to kind of make up for the guys, that core group we've talked about. There's about 3 or 4 guys that are highly ranked inside the state that nobody ever thought was we're going to end up at LSU for whatever reason. And to kind of negate that or to make up for it, you want to lock up the rest of the guys that you've evaluated and liked, and that's kind of what I'm keeping an eye on.
Shea, you mentioned that they can oversign. Any idea what that number will be for this class if the staff has a target?
And well, I think it's kind of like, it seems like every time they comment on it, or I think usually I just go check Ross Dellinger's Twitter for whatever the latest rulings are for signing or over-signing. But they were in you can sign 32 guys and you can replace up to 7 guys with transfers. And it was, you didn't have to replace them all with transfers. If you actually wanted to sign more high school kids, you could. LSU ended up doing like a 15-15 split almost between transfers and high school kids. They won't do that again. Obviously, they're inching closer to 20 guys right now and don't have any transfers, and that's kind of something that picks up in the off season. So I think they kind of waiting to see what do the overall numbers look like. But if you move forward thinking you're doing the same thing you did the year prior, I bet they end up with 26-7 range high school commits, and then you're really just patching 5, 6, 7, in that range of transfers of just holes you're filling or maybe immediate needs you see.
Makes sense. He's on Twitter at Shea Dixon. All right, Shea, you were out there today. Anything kind of like slap you in the face as far as big-time observations watching the team this morning?
I mean, I don't know if at least the good thing here is that they've got a lot more guys out there than they did in the spring. And I think that's good for them because you're inching closer to kicking off here, and you need to get a good feel for not only the starters, but what you've really got, what your depth chart looks like. I think they're going to be – I really love the D-line. I know we've talked about that all offseason, but the 2 deep alone could be starters at most SEC schools. So you're really strong there, which is a good thing. And then now on the offensive line, we're kind of seeing it come together of what they want, and it seems like a good first group. I keep saying it, keep an eye on your boy, Emory Jones. I mean, this is a kid who's coming in from Catholic who I think is college ready, and clearly he's a week and a half into fall camp and is getting second-team reps, and they said we're going to give him, Brian Kelly said we'll give him, maybe it was Denbrock, but we'll give him a taste of some first-team stuff in the fall and see if he can kind of really contribute for us at some point. So I think they're coming around on the O-line, so I like what they're doing in the trenches. I'm not sure we're going to have a real answer on quarterback, which everyone's going to want to debate until Brian Kelly actually says something. We could watch all of practice today and see Jaden Daniels running first team, but Nuss is limited, and then do they flip that, 2 days from now and Brennan gets first team stuff. So I think that one will continue to monitor. But I like the 2 trenches. And for me, Matt, I don't know about you, but DB is still the one, and maybe, I should not say maybe, more specifically corner than safety. I know Jay Ward and Major Burns and Joe Fuchsia, like those are your top guys at safety. I don't know what they're going to do at corner. And look, Converse and Garner and oh gosh, there's so many transfers. Who am I missing here? Who's the third corner?
Seven Banks.
Seven Banks, right. These guys are all transfers. I guess they're, kind of, we see them out there taking the first team reps and kind of then getting shuffled into the second-team reps, so I guess that's your front group, but that doesn't include the only two guys you brought back, Ray Darius Jones and Demarius McGee, and we saw they had, a transfer in from from McNeese State, who Brian Kelly mentioned in Colby Richardson, who was a kid out of McMain as a grad transfer now.
Dude, he actually called him Cody Dickerson. I mean, it's you can tell, and not to interrupt you, but Brian.
So you see where I'm at with my question.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he's still learning his roster at this point as well. There's he's new, but there's so much turnover, man. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So that's where I'm at. I mean, you said he missed, and I guess I was going to say shame on me for not being able to think of the name of the guy, and then Brian Kelly mispronounced it completely. So I'm not in that deep of water. But these guys could all be really good. I have no idea because I didn't follow really any of them in recruiting, and certainly haven't watched them play all their games in college. They're coming from a lot of different spots. So maybe they'll be good, but this is going to be the first time in a long time where, you're not strutting out there the Kevin Tollivers and guys that, you might be a first-year starter, but we've known about you for a couple of years. They recruited you. Now you're here. We're getting to see you. It's just like a completely clean slate with guys who've already been playing college football. I just don't know how it immediately translates to being, what they look like at the SEC level. They could be great. I just have no idea.
Yeah. All right. Last thing. I'm curious if I shared one of my big observations was that it felt like at both the second and third levels of the defense, at linebacker and in the secondary, it was just like a turnstile. I mean, they ran so many guys out there today that I actually believe that they are going to be so multiple at those two positions. I don't think you're just going to see 2 or 3 linebackers play an entire game, but they're going to be set. I think you're going to see all these guys play. Did you get that same sense today?
Yeah, and I mean, Brian Kelly said afterwards that they want to get to that they've circled, maybe even have gotten to a number of 6 linebackers that they think will be, contributors. Like you list off the starters and you're like, okay, it's Greg Penn and Mike Jones. And then we saw Wes Weeks a good amount out there today when we got to watch all of practice. But he says Harold Perkins is coming along, and then was quick to mention, hey, look, Micah Baskerville, the one guy y'all probably know best, is still going to play for us a good bit this year. And then, like I said, he wants to get to 6. So I'd imagine, yes, early in the season, they're going to do a lot of feeling out on the run. I mean, he called spring essentially an audition for everyone, give them a clean slate, but put some film out there and let us know what kind of players you are. I think they're doing that in the fall camp and into the first 2 weeks of the season just because of how fresh this entire staff is, combined with a roster that is about to lean on a ton of first-year guys or transfers.
He's on Twitter at Shea Dixon. Glad you stayed dry as well. It was a very veteran move to find the little spot under the overhang, maybe like on a little ledge also, where you were able to kind of just kick back and relax. So congrats to you.
Yeah, for those that I guess need context, there was absolutely pouring on us at the end of practice, and I'm just not that invested. I guess I just went ahead and resided to the indoor. I'm not going to rain it out.
Although the meatheads did, Hester, T-Bob, and Justin Vincent, the 3 former players, had no interest whatsoever in dodging raindrops. And God bless JV was out there in work clothes. And he just was completely uninterested in trying to run for cover.
Matt, these are guys that are holding on to the glory days. You know this. You just mentioned the 3 guys there. They were ready to suit up. They pretend it's nothing.
Oh, man. All right, Shea, it's always good to chat, man. Thanks for the time.
All right, we'll catch up soon. Thanks, Matt.
All right, man, I'll see you. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Michelli Weighing and Measurement, Michelli.com, Michelli.com. From sea to shining sea, Michelli, our nation's leading distributor of scales. They are your partner for weighing and measurement equipment. They do offer ISO 17025 accreditation, but they service all scale and measurement equipment. So they can even come to you. A lot of times you have equipment that needs to be calibrated that can't leave the premise of where you are. Michelli will come to you. 29 offices across 11 different states. They are hiring. Go to the website, Michelli.com, hit that careers tab, and you'll see apply now right there. Select the job that you're looking to apply for and get started on a new career with a company that's been locally owned and operated for 75 years, celebrating 75 years in business. That's Michelli Weighing and Measurement. Michelli.com, Michelli.com. All right, let's have further review. Cauble was at practice. He'll join us in about half an hour. Marcus Randall, 1 hour from right now. Rickie Collins, a high school coach, former LSU quarterback, Marcus Randall. That's coming up as well. And I told you I wanted to talk, and we'll do this when we come back. I did want to dive into what Brian Kelly said about offensive line and about tight end, specifically a freshman who he feels is ready not just to be a contributor, but to be a significant contributor for this team, meaning a guy that could be a starter for this team. We'll do that next. It's AFR.
AFR.
ITI's got all these programs. Once I started and learned everything about the school, it was worth it.
The challenges that ITI presented me with, it allowed me to build myself up.
All because of ITI, I actually was able to get a job within 3 months before graduation in my field.
Get the hands-on training you need for the job you've always wanted. With so many companies hiring right now, it's the perfect time to come to ITI Technical College. Enroll today for a better life.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm.
After further review with Matt Moscona, Presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, rolling along through a Thursday edition of AFR. Glad to have you aboard with us here. There is some breaking news here that actually is just now coming down the pike, courtesy of Billy Embody of On 3. LSU defensive back Jordan Toles is in the transfer portal. Toles, as Billy Embody noted, played in 6 of the first 7 games a season ago. Recorded 12 tackles, but Toles, who has not been present at LSU's practice for an undisclosed reason, we now know what that undisclosed reason is, that he's no longer going to be a part of the LSU program. Toles is interesting because he illustrates what is kind of, it's a weird way to say it, but he illustrates what is a good problem to have. This team is very deep at safety. They're very deep at safety. It's been a given, as we've talked about, that the defensive line and receiver are probably the 2 most talented spots on this team. We've talked so much about defensive line, but interestingly, Brian Kelly, when he met with reporters, said they didn't think they were actually that deep at end, especially with the rush. Well, they've been able to build some depth there with Desmond Little moving to that jack spot behind B.J. Ojulari, and so they've been able to build up depth there, and we're seeing that continue to develop. And there's, of course, Savion Jones and guys that they like a lot, Xavier Carter, Quincy Wiggins coming in. So they've built a lot of depth there. But you look at safety, and my goodness, when they ran out there and they were doing a pursuit drill with the first 11 when they started practice, you had Major Burns and Greg Brooks out there. When we saw them do team drills, you had Major Burns and Mekhi Gardner, and we saw Jordan Allen, the freshman, was from Lafayette Christian, was running around back there at safety as well. You had we saw Joe Fouché get back there later. We saw Sage Ryan took a ton of reps at nickel and like the nickel safety role. I'm pulling on my roster because I have to remember. So I just wrote down jersey numbers like Quad Wilson, who's a transfer from McNeese, was running around back there, and he actually had a really nice pass breakup in the end zone on Kyron Lacey. We saw, some of these names, like I wrote down 47. There's not even a 47 on the roster that I have. So somebody changed numbers. My point is, when you look at what is already a given, when you know you've got Jay Ward and Major Burns and Greg Brooks and Joe Fouché and Sage Ryan, that's 5 guys right there without even mentioning the veteran Todd Harris, who is still out there, but obviously he's battled injuries his whole career. And then you start talking about Jordan Toles and Derek Davis and Matthew Langlois, and then a freshman like Jordan Allen coming in, who we just mentioned. They are so deep at safety. I mean, if your first 2 out there, Major Burns and Jay Ward, which it seems like it is, and you got Greg Brooks in sort of that nickel safety role being backed up by Sage Ryan, that's not even counting Joe Fouché and then the other guys I mentioned. I get it. Like if you're Jordan Toles, you signed in 2020, now you're going into year 3, and we so often say, look, if by year 3 you haven't cracked that rotation, then it's probably not going to happen for you because you got 2 or then 3 more recruiting cycles of talented guys behind you ready to come up and take your spot, i.e. Sage Ryan, Jordan Allen, guys who are very talented coming behind you looking to take a spot. Toles was interesting because he came in 2020, and if you remember, 2020 was the class where Ed Ogeron and his staff recruited nationally. It wasn't a great year in Louisiana, so they had to cast the wide net, and they ended up getting a bunch of guys out of like the D.C., Baltimore, the area. And Toles is from St. Francis Academy, a powerhouse in the Baltimore area. He was a 4-star safety, the number 11 safety in the country. When he picked LSU. And he came here and in 2020 played in 8 games during his true freshman season. Wasn't super productive, but got on the field as a true freshman during the COVID year. Then last year played in 6 of the first 7 games, had 6 tackles against UCLA in the season opener. And then he just sort of lost steam. Of course, Sage Ryan got healthy, came back and played a lot late in the season. Major Burns' injury sort of opened up some opportunities early in the season, but it's just obvious to see right now where this is headed. So Jordan Toles enters the transfer portal. Tigers are down a safety with Toles hitting the portal, but it's a spot where him leaving just feels very, very obvious. There's positions where you have to recruit a lot of numbers, and yes, you play a lot of guys, but when you're not part of a rotation that's that deep, I get why guys leave. So Toles is next. We also didn't see Derek Davis today. I do not know what his status is, but that's another guy in that secondary who's been lost in the shuffle a little bit, who's struggling to find his way on the field. But Jordan Toles leaving LSU. All right, it's After Further Review. We are glad to have you aboard with us here. We're brought to you by Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Tell you every day, do business with someone you know. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Boy, it was a deluge today around town. And you hate to say it this way, but when it rains like this and like it has been over the last 6 to 8 weeks, man, our phones ring an awful lot because there's two ways to find out if you got roof damage. One, you get up on the roof and do an inspection. Or two, you wait for it to rain and then you have water in your house. And one of those options is certainly better than the other, but still every day, I get calls, texts, emails from people who say, started raining. Look, got water spots on my roof. Don't wait. Call us today. Let us come by, give you a free, no-obligation roofing inspection. If it's commercial or residential, we'd love to help you out. No matter where you are in the state of Louisiana, go to the website, HudcoRoofing.com. Right there on the homepage, you'll see the form to fill out the inspection. It'll take you 60 seconds or less to fill it out. We'll come by. Louisiana-owned, Louisiana-operated, Louisiana products, Louisiana people. It's Hudco Roofing. Do business with someone you know. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. I do want to jump into this conversation, though, because I've been teasing it about tight end. Brian Kelly was asked when he met with reporters last week about the tight end spot and if they're just pot committed to using a tight end. And he said, we'll adjust, is essentially what he said. He said he'd prefer to use a tight end, but they'll adjust as needed. Well, today, they use a tight end. I mean, one of the notes that I wrote down that was apparent was Nick Storrs was very involved. For a guy that was a medical retirement and came back out of medical retirement, Nick Storrs ran a ton with the ones, as did Cole Taylor. And then behind them, you had Mason Taylor, the freshman, and you had Jack Mashburn, who we know was a former walk-on, who's out there. So you got bodies at that spot. You don't have a lot of experience or production at the tight end spot. Yet still, when we were watching the team period today, they were running 2 tight end sets. I mean, some of the plays we've referenced here, you were talking about the Emory Jones pancake block. That's a 2 tight end set where both tight ends go to the left side and your jumbo on the left side. And Emory Jones had the pancake on Jacoby and Guillory. They ran a lot of 2 tight end sets today with Taylor and Nick Storrs. So I thought whenever we go into the press conference and Brian Kelly's talking about tight ends, that he's going to talk about Taylor and Nick Storrs. But that's not who Brian Kelly mentioned.
One of the biggest pleasant surprises has been, Mason Taylor. He's ready to help us win this year. He's going to play for us, and he's been outstanding. So, I feel so much better about that position because of his presence and the way he's shown himself.
Mason Taylor, son of former NFL legend Jason Taylor, a freshman tight end. They've got Mason Taylor listed on the right. He's wearing his number 86. He's listed at 6'5", 245. So he's got room to get bigger. But my first reaction, initially, when I heard Brian Kelly say that is, there are few dudes that know tight ends and how to use tight ends like Brian Kelly. If he, when he says it, it carries a different level of credibility. So, yeah, I mean, look, go look at my social media. I posted a video of Jaden Daniels in the goal line drill throwing a beautiful touchdown pass to Cole Taylor, where Cole Taylor high-pointed a ball over Major Burns. And when you see a dude that's 6'7", he's going to create mismatches against safety. So that looked really good. And Taylor and Storrs were the ones getting the first-team reps. But Brian Kelly, unsolicited, said, you heard him. Play it again, Muse. He's like, the reason he's comfortable about the tight end position is because of the freshman.
One of the biggest pleasant surprises has been, Mason Taylor. He's ready to help us win this year. He's going to play for us, and he's been outstanding. So, I feel so much better about that position because of his presence and the way he's shown himself.
Tigers had their week into workouts now, a week into fall camp, and full open practice to the media today. We'll get a break here. We'll do Tigers and the pros. Cauble's with us in about 17 minutes. He was there shooting the practice today. We'll get some of his observations. And as I mentioned, Marcus Randall, Woodlawn High head coach, former LSU quarterback, head coach of Rickie Collins. He's with us in 45 minutes to talk about his prize prospect committing to LSU. We will get let's hear from Dennis Allen as well in about 30 minutes as the Saints wrapped up practice today, walked through on Friday, then a travel day, and of course they'll play Saturday in Houston. Man, it's here. Football's here. We got a ton to do, empty in the bag, and glad to have you hanging out with us on AFR.
AFR.
Man, I was driving by Rouse's this morning on the way to practice, needed a bottle of water, wanted a protein bar as well, pulled into Rouse's, the one right there on Burbank and Lee. There's a Rouse's near you, and they have anything you want. If you want a quick snack to grab and go, if you're looking for a hot lunch or dinner for the entire family, Rouse's has got you covered, or all of your grocery items. My sister-in-law, her birthday is Saturday, so we're having everybody over to the house. We're going to swim. We're going to eat. You better believe we're going to call in to Rouse's for a bunch of party platters and trays and shareables and all those sorts of things. It's so easy. They take care of all of it. I just show up, pay for it, take the party platters, and then serve. It's that easy. It's Rouse's. Hey, remember, they got delivery and pickup options. So go to the website or download the Rouse's app, select your items. They'll go shop for you. You pull up into the spot. They'll bring it out to you, or they'll just deliver it to your house. It's Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's, this feels like home.
Bayou Ford has $14,000 off MSRP on a new 2021 Ford F-150. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Vizzy, the first hard seltzer with antioxidant vitamin C. It just hits different. Vizzy.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Remember, you can always join us. You can email us, tweet us, jump in the Bayou Forward YouTube chat, or text us in the 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. If there's anything that I have not touched on from practice yet that you might be interested in hearing about, shoot me a message, let me know, and we'll get to it here in hour 3. Cauble coming up a little more than 10 minutes from right now, and we'll let you hear from Dennis Allen next hour, Marcus Randall, a ton of football stuff, and glad you're here. Right now, though, Musso has Tigers in the Pro.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now. Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, where Baton Rouge gets engaged.
Austin Nola yesterday. 1 for 3 in the 9-hole for the Padres. Home run, 3rd of the season. Scored 2 runs. What was that?
Yahtzee.
Oh, okay. Scored 2 runs, drove in 3 runs, drew a walk. Really solid 9-hole hitter, that Austin Nola.
Remember Yahtzee? Remember the game Yahtzee?
Yeah, the dice.
The dice.
And the dice in the cup.
Yeah, the thing.
Yeah,
Place
large
the guy
straight,
stuff.
small straight.
Yep.
Yeah. Good game, man. Love that game.
Yeah, Yahtzee. Yahtzee.
Alex Lang last night. No. Lee Summit High School, actually,
Missouri,
for Alex Lang. Yeah. And a perfect inning for him as well last night. 2 strikeouts to boot, 11 pitches, 7 of those in the zone. Josh Smith. There you go. Yeah. Get it all out. Came off the bench.
This one.
In a
I love
pinch.
this. All Catholic high guys, Muse. All of them.
Well, 2 out of the 3.
That's what I said.
You said all of them. It's 2 out of the 3. Pinch hit duties for Josh Smith last night. Made the most of it. 1 for 1 with a single. Would also come around to score in his only at bat. Alex Bregman last night. No. 1 for 2.
Right.
1 for what?
It just felt right.
Okay, but he didn't go there. 1 for 4. 2 runs scored. It was a single for Bregman. Also drew a walk in his on base 2 out of 4 official plate appearances.
Yes.
251. The average just continues to climb for Alex Bregman.
Yes.
Sylvia Fowles.
Yeah. Big Sil.
No. That's not even possible there. It's an all-boys school.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Big Sil, though, 16 points, 9 rebounds last night in the Lynx victory. She blocked the shot and added an assist. Shot 70% from the floor and played 30 minutes. Still got it, even though approaching retirement.
By the way, I got sent this today from Kenlon Tyree. The today's SI Daily cover was Sylvia Fowles. Big Sil. It was MVP, Mama, Mortician, and more as Sylvia Fowles nears retirement. She and some of her those closest to her look back on a legendary WNBA career on and off the court. You can show that, Paul. Yeah, go ahead.
Mortician?
Well, I guess you'd have to read.
I'm intrigued. I'm not going to lie. I'm very intrigued by
Daily,
that. Yeah.
Look, here it is. Here's the cover from SI Daily, The Faces of Fowles.
Shout out.
Yeah, for sure.
Shout out, Big Sil. I love
Drew
it.
Hill. Big Sil. Yeah.
And finally, opening round of the FedEx Cup playoffs, opening round of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Really nice day for Sam Burns. A 5 under 65, 6 birdies, 1 bogey has him 3 shots off the 8 under lead heading into tomorrow.
And
that's Tigers in the Pros.
And what did Curtis Thompson do today?
Well, he's not in the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Well, what's he playing?
He's not. It's the playoffs now.
But he could be playing some other event.
That's my point. There's no other PGA Tour event going on.
Doesn't have to be a tour event. It'll be something else. Something really cool.
You think he's just playing like a local muni somewhere?
Something you never heard of before.
Could be. I don't know.
Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. LMFJ.com. LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. You can check them out online where Baton Rouge and really all of Louisiana goes to get engaged and has for 40 years. Go to the website. Engagement rings tab on the left, style, shape, so many different things when it comes to educating yourself on that purchase. Lee Michaels does a sensational job of creating a buying atmosphere, making you comfortable with your purchase. You will always get the Lee Michaels experience, no matter your budget. LMFJ.com, LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. All right, y'all, it's after further review. We will knock out a top-of-the-hour break. Sports Center, Cauble was out at practice today. Get some of his observations and Marcus Randall in about 30 minutes.
AFR.
Brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawbillsTire.com, bumper-to-bumper auto service, and name brand tires at wholesale prices. Summer coming to an end. Maybe this is the time where now that the kids are back in school, you have some free time to do things like bring the car to Shawbills to get that maintenance that you need. If you've been putting off the oil change, the brake repair, the tire rotation, or maybe it's time to buy new tires, Shawbills will always get you the best deal possible. Shawbills will sell you name brand tires at wholesale prices, and there is no place that has a better service program than the Charlie's Dozen at Shawbills. And they extend all those benefits to every vehicle in the home, even if you didn't buy the tires at Shawbills. It's just about treating you right. It's about treating you like family. That's what Shawbills has done for more than 50 years. ShawbillsTire.com to schedule service or shop tires online. ShawbillsTire.com. Shawbills, where we keep you rolling.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank & Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The best things in summer are unofficial. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The NBA will honor the late Bill Russell by retiring his number 6 league-wide, except for the players currently wearing it. In the upcoming season, all teams will wear a jersey patch honoring Russell, and courts around the league will feature a number 6 logo. Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady will be away from the team for at least a week for personal reasons. Coach Todd Bowles says Brady should be back after the team's second preseason game a week from Saturday. The first full weekend of the preseason kicks off tonight. Titans and Ravens in Baltimore, Giants and Patriots in Foxborough. ESPN has learned New England quarterback Mac Jones and most of the Patriots starters are not expected to play tonight. ESPN's Diana Rossini.
This is not the same New England in August that we're used to. And I think that's something that we've got to wrap our heads around, that this may be the transition without Josh McDaniels may be a lot harder than perhaps what we're discussing here.
Diana Rossini on Get Up. The Giants plan to play their healthy starters.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. And now, a no-frills ad brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Here it is. You could save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive. That's it. See? Just a good old-fashioned, straightforward ad. See if you could save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or Progressive.com.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. That's right.
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us, AFR. Presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Yusuf. And Mr. Toby Tom Plate. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you're driving home with us. Let's hear from Dennis Allen in about 15 minutes from right now. Marcus Randall, former Tiger quarterback, Woodlawn head coach. His prize pupil, Rickie Collins, picked the Tigers last night. Marcus Randall in 30 minutes. Right now, Michael Cauble, sports director, WBRZ, our news partner. He was out at practice today. Got to hang out with Cobbs for a couple of hours out there in the rain and the overcast skies. Joins us now. How are you, dude?
Good. Dried off, took a shower, feeling a lot better.
Didn't need to know any of that, but I'm glad you're feeling better right now. So, hey, first time in like a quarter century that the media's been able to watch a full practice, which is bizarre in and of itself. But if I said, okay, did you have a singular big takeaway from being out there? What was it?
Yeah, just probably the multiplicity of the defense and just the bingo card I have of numbers that we wrote down, right? Just like, I mean, it was numbers all over the place. So, and really trying to get a gauge for what was what. Because while some guys were one, some guys weren't, and it was hard to just kind of figure out how they were doing it, what they were doing, different than what we've seen in the past, for sure.
It was kind of defensively, it felt just like a turnstile. You knew who the starters were on the line, right? I mean, we agree on that.
Yeah.
Everyone agrees on that. But everything else was just an open rotation, and it feels like they're going to play a ton of guys at linebacker and in the secondary.
And a ton of formation, too. I mean, like, I think that's the thing. Like, their looks will be very different. And I don't know if that is just unsettled because they're trying to figure out who can do what, if that is unsettled by design. Do they really like their personnel and their packages to be that specific? You know, I can't wait to watch another one of these just to see kind of how it evolves. And now that we have we did get to watch a full practice in the spring, so that's not the first time I've been out there for the whole deal. But it was good to see it again, and again, it was kind of good to reinforce some things that we already knew, and then get eyes on some positions that maybe we hadn't seen before.
What positions did you get eyes on that you hadn't seen before?
Well, so for me, that was my first time watching any of the defense. In the prior 2 practices, I've only watched the offense. I tried to watch the defense in the second practice, but they flip-flop the fields that they work on, or that I anticipated them working on. So I was caught on the wrong side, so I just stayed there. So really, I got to watch the defense for the first time, and that in special teams. I watched some of the special teams in the spring, but I actually walked down to see the punters this time as well as the return guys. So just getting kind of a holistic view on the team now, and again, seeing all the new faces in the various places that they are in. That's new for me.
There was a text into the show from Brad who asked about the kickers. I did not walk down to watch the kickers. I did hear what Brian Kelly said after practice. Bramblett looks like he's going to be your punter, which we knew, and then there was no decision whatsoever on the place kickers. Did you have any observation watching them?
I didn't watch the place kickers, but I watched Bramblett, and I'm trying to think of the other dude's name now off the top of my head. Peyton Todd. And Peyton Todd actually looked the better of the two during the time that I was out there. So it was interesting to me to hear Brian Kelly come in and say that Bramblett was the guy, and had pretty much kind of solidified that spot. So didn't see any of the place kickers. The returners, I thought were interesting, and I liked what Brian Kelly said after practice, that basically they're going to have a hands guy and they're going to have a grab it go guy. I like knowing coaches' philosophy on return. Some of them just want to play it safe and take the yardage. Some of them feel like they can, steal, kind of flip the field, I guess, if you will. So I was kind of curious to see what Brian's overall philosophy will be, and maybe that's for a later date. But I think I may have shared this with you at practice. Just one of the little things that Brian Kelly does. You'll see Brian Kelly jump into every position group, at least offensively. I didn't see him do it defensively, but every position group offensively, he'll just find a thing. And I don't know, he'll plus it to some degree. Like this with the returners, he watched him go through 3-4 series of just fair catches, and then he added another ball. He's like, hey, somebody give me a ball. So he gave him a ball, gave the returner another ball to start with, and I was thinking, oh well, they're just going to run, they're not going to catch. No, he wanted them to catch 2 balls. So they, get the sensation of, I guess, fielding that one ball with one hand while securing the other one. So I don't know how much difference that makes. I was talking to Scott Rabley about it. I feel like it just makes the routine that much more routine, because now you're challenging yourself above what is expected. And so when you just have to do what is expected, it becomes a little bit more routine for you. I just feel like, maybe I'm reaching, but I feel like that is just kind of what he does. He's looking for those small, minute details that he can maybe fix that have a bigger impact than just what that little detail might be.
No, I think it is a good observation, Cobbs, and that's one of the things that you do get to see. For example, when we would see Ed Ogeron, he was largely just with the defensive line. Right? We didn't see Ed Ogeron working with quarterbacks or receivers really ever.
Ever, yeah.
So when Brian Kelly is jumping position group to position group, he does have like a hand, a finger on the pulse of all those different position groups. I'm not saying there's a good or a bad or a right or wrong. It's just how that's all transpiring. Cauble's with us. What about quarterbacks?
Hard to tell today, right? Miles and Jaden seem to be the bell cows there. I didn't watch a lot of them per se. I'm watching a lot of the line still, watching a lot of the running backs kind of work through it. I didn't feel like anybody stood out or was better than the other. I thought Jaden had a nice ball live. I thought he had a really nice ball. I thought it was a pretty ball down the sidelines to Kyron Lacey, I believe it was. But then I went back on tape and watched the tape of it. It would have been a sack. So it was.
Was that the one on the left side?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so again, it's kind of like, it was a beat too long, but when I'm watching it live, I was walking over and I was like, man, he felt like he was throwing on the run, really catchable ball, hit him in stride. That was nice. When he's throwing, I feel like every quarterback, when they're throwing their soft touch passes to the running backs, I feel like they're all under delivering the ball. So that's a little concerning. But when they're throwing it to space, throwing it 10, 15 yards down the field, I feel like they all throw a pretty good ball.
Do you think this is a 2-horse race at quarterback?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just feel like Miles is out of the picture, and it almost feels that way like, I hate to say it, but it kind of feels like go through the motions kind of thing. Like, I was excited to see the energy from him on the Brian Thomas touchdown pass. I just, like, he ran down the field to jump it up with him, and I thought that was good because that wasn't a lot of, what I had seen. Body language, I guess, right? I'm reading body language. It's reading tea leaves, whatever you want to say. But I just felt like there needs to be a little bit more sense of the now. Maybe I don't have the right word there.
Urgency?
Urgency. Thank you. Yes, urgency. Yeah, I didn't feel that certain sense of urgency with him. It really felt like he's done this for the 7th year in a row, and like, all right, I'm just going to go out here and throw. So, I'd like to see a little bit more pop in him, and maybe that's a sign of things to come. I don't know. Haven't heard anything, right? But just it certainly felt that way.
I'm looking for my note.
Stumped you?
No, I'm looking for a note that I wrote down because.
How about Kyron Lacey and Brian Thomas?
No, it was about what you just said about Brennan.
Oh.
And I'm looking for the note. It's somewhere in my hieroglyphics that I have written down on 5 pages. But it was essentially the same thing. For a guy that's in year 6, you would expect him to be the leader of the offense. That was one takeaway. There is really no vocal leader out there on this team yet. It's certainly none of the quarterbacks yet.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody getting on or in anybody, at least from what we saw, for 2 hours.
But I would say that as a whole, right? Like, it was a rather quiet practice.
Yes. No, that's what I mean. Yes.
Very business approach, Dellinger kind of got him up a couple of times that I saw. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of chatter outside of the DBs and corners. That's pretty much all you're going to get.
Yes, Miles kind of that feeling, I think, was very legitimate as a guy that was just out there going through practice like he's done the last 6 years, and maybe it's just a one-day, one-off, but especially with Garrett not practicing a ton, and having an opportunity maybe to make a statement, just felt like a dude out there throwing the ball at practice.
Yeah, it didn't seize the moment, right? If that's what we were looking for, it didn't feel that way for sure.
I don't know. He's on Twitter at Cauble. Y'all give him a follow. Anything else stand out? Anyone else?
Man, I was on the defensive side, and I watched offensive line, defensive line go at it on the one-on-ones, and I really thought the offensive line held their own. And then you get over into the team aspect, and you see kind of those breakdowns. So I do feel like getting the line secured and working with one another will be paramount for them. Will Campbell and Allie Gay going at one another. Will didn't, if you watch the video that I have, Will didn't like Allie's hand in his throat, and then they were chirping back and forth at one another. But it's just good to see, a young kid step to the forefront the way he has and kind of, hold his own with some of the seasoned veterans. And the thing just that I thought was interesting that Brian said was just maybe their lack of certainty on the defensive front's edge, because we all thought that was such a strength of this team, the front four, however they were going to align them. Seems like they still have some work to do there.
Bring it full circle to where you started. It's the multiplicity on defense. They're not going to be a 4-3. You're not going to have 2 4-3 defensive ends. Ojolari's playing an outside linebacker jack position, so they're looking for something different than what we all have assumed that they had. So it's why going to see a practice like today is pretty cool. Hope we get to do it more often. Make sure you catch Cauble tonight, 6 and 10. What do y'all have coming up? All practice stuff, I would assume?
We're actually going to talk about the secondary because that was my question mark going into today's practice, so we'll do that. You already gave everybody the update on Garrett Nussmeier, but we will talk a little bit about that secondary. Man, and just the laundry list of guys that they roll through there.
I know.
You need a face, number, and a numerical chart to figure it out.
Cauble, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. We'll see you. He's right. Because essentially kind of what will happen is, so the media is all sitting on the sideline and they'll run a rep, and then you don't have your requisite time between plays, right, where you huddle and all that sort of stuff. It's just the next group is up and going. So you're trying to see, and you're at field level, who's running where, and so you're jotting down numbers. And a lot of times you don't know who's who. Like, Who's 27? Like I learned, I think it's LaTerrence Welch. Like when 27's out there, yeah, it's LaTerrence Welch. I mean, you're learning. It's like who's 29? Oh, well, that's Jordan. No, I'm sorry. 29 is ready to see. I'm telling you right now. Rodarius Jones. 19 is Jordan Allen, the freshman. So you're seeing these numbers, and it doesn't click right away. So you're looking at a roster, and they're rotating. It was frenetic. But I do think that if the defense is that multiple, which I think it looks like they will be, that's going to be hopefully to LSU's advantage in not allowing an offense to ever become predictable with what LSU's doing defensively. So it was certainly an education watching those guys out there today. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Dennis Allen did meet with reporters today. Let's hear some of what Dennis Allen had to say as the Saints getting ready to take on the Texans on Saturday. And then Marcus Randall in 15 minutes as his starting quarterback, Rickie Collins, committed to the Tigers last night. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Boy, that bad weather came through earlier today. Some of you hold your breath. You're going to lose power? Well, if you had a home standby generator from Schutz Electric, you'd never have to worry about it. Erica and I finally did this. She prodded me long enough. Should have done it long ago. If I had known how affordable a home standby generator was, the financing options that Schutz Electric offers, and how easy the process was, I'd have done it a long time ago. There's a lot of companies that can sell a generator. With Schutz, they have a whole generator division. So they have inventory. They have the knowledge, the expertise, the staff ready to roll because they have an entire wing of their business that all they do is home standby generators. It's Schutz Electric. CESofLA.com. CESofLA.com. When the power goes out, home standby generator comes on like nothing ever happened. It's Schutz Electric. CESofLA.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you. Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Just specifically in the interest of keeping up with developments and stories as they develop, as we say, we always will follow. Keeping an eye on the Deshaun Watson situation specifically because, as I will say again, the Saints play in Cleveland on Christmas Eve, and who the quarterback is for the Browns that day matters tremendously to the Saints. Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer, Cleveland.com, tweeted a bit ago that the Browns will consider acquiring 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo if Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension increases. In her report, she notes that Jacoby Brissett set to be the starter, and if Watson is out, while Watson is out, and the team is comfortable with Jacoby Brissett for 6 to 8 games, if that's the case. But if it goes beyond that, they will want another option, and Jimmy Garoppolo would likely be that option. So we will keep our eye on that story as it develops. And as some people have asked, should the Saints pursue Jimmy Garoppolo? No, I don't think at all. I think you're quite content with Andy Dalton as your number 2. And if you get to a situation, knock on wood, where should you need another starting quarterback, maybe you had that conversation. But like we talked about yesterday, I think I would be more confident in Dalton than I would in Garoppolo. And I know Garoppolo has been to a Super Bowl, but I feel like those Niners teams relied so heavily on defense and some of the other talent. And the old adage, they won in spite of, not because of, Jimmy Garoppolo. I feel like Andy Dalton was a much more integral part to those Bengals teams. It just weren't good enough, top to bottom, to get through a really tough division and through the playoffs in the AFC. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully Jamie stays healthy and has a phenomenal year, but we're still waiting to hear the ruling on Deshaun Watson. All right, it's After Further Review, brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020. 924-2020. You want to see 2020? Call 924-2020 for the Williamson Eye Center. I care, I wear, I surgery. I care, schedule that family eye exam. I wear, buy one pair of glasses, get your second pair 50% off all this month. And, of course, eye surgery. If you want to see 2020 without contacts or glasses, Dr. Blake Williamson at the Williamson Eye Center makes that happen every single day for Louisiana residents. Made it happen for me. Made it happen for tons of athletes. Guys like John Emery, like Devin White, like Caleb Chasson can help you as well. 924-2020 or WilliamsonEYE.com. Dennis Allen met with the reporters today. So keep in mind, Saints have a walkthrough on Friday, and then they're traveling to Houston. So the next time we'll see the Saints is Saturday in Houston against the Texans in the first preseason game. Dennis Allen was asked if the starters were going to play in this first preseason game against Houston.
Look, there's some guys that I feel like I got a pretty good idea, what I'm going to be getting. There's some really good competition in a couple of spots that, we got to see some game action to evaluate. And so, yeah, so will they play? There'll be a group of them there'll be a significant number that'll play, but there'll be some that won't see any or not a lot of action.
It'll be interesting because most of the starters on this team are a given. I don't need to see Ryan Ramczyk or Andrus Peat or Eric McCoy. I don't need to see Michael Thomas. I don't need to see Alvin Kamara. I don't need to see Cameron Jordan or David Onyemata. DeMario Davis. I don't need to see those guys out there. I don't need to see Tyrann Mathieu or Marcus May. I don't need to. What jobs are up for grabs? Running back is certainly one of them, where Alvin Kamara is a given. Everything beyond that is a question mark. Here was Dennis Allen on his running backs.
Well, yeah, look, certainly, we got some guys that we really need to see. I mean, you mentioned Zigbo and Abram Smith. Those are guys that we want to be able to see. We want to be able to see Tony Jones get out there and carry the football. So yeah, I think that's a good competition that we got in that room, and we want to have an opportunity to kind of evaluate what those guys can do.
And of course, in front of the running backs, the offensive line, where you have jobs up for grabs. Like Trevor Penning is fighting for a starting job to see if he can beat out James Hurst. As of right now, it seems like the veteran's going to win the job, but we'll see how Penning does this weekend. Beyond that, though, even if you know you're starting 5 and then Penning is a given, what about the other offensive linemen? That's always interesting to see who's going to win jobs as your rotational players on the offensive line, because you have to build enough depth and guys that can play both inside and out. Here was Dennis Allen on Trevor Penning, though, who's set to make his NFL debut on Saturday.
So I would say this. I would say, yes, it's important, but I would also say that I think it's getting way more attention outside of our building than it probably needs. I see a guy that plays hard, extremely hard, on every single play. Are there some times where we got to pull back the reins a little bit? Yeah. But I wouldn't classify that any differently than anybody else. He just plays hard, and he plays from snap to whistle, and that's what you want him to do. So I kind of like it.
That's what you drafted him for. Like, you knew what you were drafting. You could see it on film against Northern Iowa. You could see it at the Senior Bowl. You know who you're drafting. The guy said his favorite part about football is legally assaulting people. Like, there's no unknowns. There's no uncertainty. You know what you were getting, and it's part of the reason why you drafted him. So, yes, to see Trevor Penning, obviously, I assume we're going to see Chris Olave. We're going to want to see those draft picks this weekend. By the way, Dennis Allen updated Alontae Taylor, said he's a hip pointer, not very serious. And we'll see, who else is going to get out there and run around a little bit. I doubt we see Taysom Hill, obviously, battling the rib injury. No reason to put him out there. Unlikely that we see Michael Thomas either. So most people, I think, get very excited about a preseason game because it's the first opportunity to see your team, put on the uniform, get out there, and you're watching football. But very quickly you realize what you're watching is like glorified practice. It's half speed for a lot of those guys. But I am a preseason junkie. I love the battle for roster spots 51, 52, 53. Who's going to be the swing lineman? Who's going to be the gunner on special teams? Who's the extra defensive back trying to win a job as a rotational player? And a lot of times those guys matter. They matter because you have a guy go down in a game. Well, guess what? Now that person all of a sudden isn't just a rotational guy who's playing special teams. He's starting. He's trying to lock up, number 3 receivers in the NFL, defending passes against Tom Brady. So, yeah, all that matters. And I'm fascinated to watch and excited to get a look at some of these guys. On tomorrow's show, we'll run through the full list of what I'll be watching for when the Saints play the Texans on Saturday in Houston. All right, we do know that LSU added another member to its 2023 recruiting class, quarterback Rickie Collins, Baton Rouge kid out of Woodlawn. Marcus Randall, former LSU Tiger quarterback, who's the head coach of the Woodlawn Panthers. Rickie Collins, high school head coach. Marcus is going to join us next on the show to talk a little bit about what LSU's getting in Rickie Collins. Don't you move. It's AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by the Baton Rouge General Hospital. You know where to find them. brgeneral.org. That's brgeneral.org for the Baton Rouge General Hospital, which is part of the Mayo Clinic Care Network, which you hear me talk about all the time. And with the Mayo Clinic Care Network, that allows you and offers you the opportunity to have your physician locally, your doctor here, work with the experts at the Mayo Clinic, not only for clinical collaboration, but also with their world-renowned research at no extra cost to you. This is an exclusivity in our market for the Baton Rouge General. Learn more at brgeneral.org. Again, that's brgeneral.org. How the Baton Rouge General Hospital collaborating with the Mayo Clinic as part of the Mayo Clinic Care Network to continue expanding healthcare in Baton Rouge. brgeneral.org. brgeneral.org for the Baton Rouge General Hospital. brgeneral.org, part of the Mayo Clinic Care Network.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has $14,000 off MSRP on a new 2021 Ford F-150. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hunt and Hill, The Early Line, and after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust. After further review with Matt Moscona. Presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
So, what y'all came here for? I ain't gonna hold y'all too long, but Rickie reconsider. Go Tigers!
That's how it sounded when Rickie Collins, 4-star from Woodlawn here in Baton Rouge, made his announcement on Wednesday. He has officially now flipped his commitment from Purdue to LSU. His high school coach is former Tiger quarterback Marcus Randall, a guy who's been a friend of the show for a long time. He's good enough to jump aboard with us here for a couple of minutes. Marcus, we appreciate the time, man. How are you?
Doing well, man. Can't complain. Just coming off the practice field, man.
Man, we appreciate you for squeezing it in. Hey, when did you learn that Rickie was picking LSU?
Pretty much, a day or two before he made the announcement.
What was your reaction when you learned it was LSU?
Man, obviously being a alumni from there, playing there, it was also, it hit close to home, man. Obviously, I didn't put any pressure on him to choose LSU. He was already committed to Purdue pretty much since last year, and going through his process, which was a great process for him and for his family. But being able to turn the tides when Brian Kelly got in and Coach Joe Sloan did a great job of recruiting him. Letting him know how important he was to that 2023 class of sealing the deal for him, and it just all worked out, and obviously I was glad that it worked out that way.
Yeah, Marcus, you also have that sort of perspective, being a guy who played high school football in Baton Rouge at a Baton Rouge school, and then you played for the hometown team. Can you elaborate on what it means to be a guy from Baton Rouge having the opportunity to be the quarterback at LSU?
Well, it's like no other feeling. You're playing for the state, for your state school. actually, like you saying, being from Baton Rouge and LSU being here in Baton Rouge, having a chance to have all my family and friends be able a chance to, come out, see me play, not just on TV, but in person. I mean, there was no other better feeling to be able to do that and, be able to play at the quarterback position.
He is Marcus Randall, Woodlawn High head coach, former Tiger quarterback, of course. He is the head coach at Woodlawn, where Rickie Collins plays. Let's talk about Rickie the player a little bit as well. If I asked you to describe Rickie Collins, the quarterback, what would you say?
He's a guy that checks all the boxes. He makes our offense go. Being that he's been starting since the ninth grader, we're able to put a lot more on him. His experience is like no other. I don't, being able to start 5A again as a freshman and be able to play as many snaps and as many games as he's had a chance to play. He's like a general on the field, or like another coach out there.
I'm glad you said it, Marcus. It's a painful memory for me to bring up, but I mean, I went to Catholic. The only loss Catholic had in a state championship season a year ago was to you guys. And I mean, and 3 times Catholic took a lead, and 3 times Rickie Collins led Woodlawn back to tie and ultimately to win it. Do you have a comp? Like how do you measure the intangibles? Because watching him play, it is obvious that he has it. You know what I mean? Like whatever that it thing people talk about, like he's got it.
Right. And again, I think that comes along with the amount of games he's playing, and now he's able to, even when things around him look like they're going, and that may sure getting rattled, he's able to stay calm, cool, keep everybody else calm and cool. Like you said, playing in Catholic High's game, that was a big game for us. Not only for him, but for our program. So, I mean, being able to go in there and battle him. We had a big game with him during his sophomore year where we ended up losing by 7, and being able to come back and having that same type of battle and being able to edge this one out, hold the drive, and the drive he was able to do in that last quarter, which we was able to take 8 minutes off, was basically to be able to manage the team and take us down to do those kind of things.
Hey, man, I didn't ask you to relive the whole game. I didn't relive all that, man.
You brought it up, man. You brought it up. It was in my mind.
Marcus Randall's our guest. Hey, what is if I said, okay, what does Rickie Collins still need to work on, either before he gets LSU and when he gets LSU? What would you say?
Right now, at this point, I would like for him to be able to, use this whole year right now to be able to just be able to manipulate the game, be able to move guys, use his eyes, and already seeing the reads happen, which he's been doing that. But I just want to be able to, get the timing down and just be able to, like I say, pick the defense apart pretty much every time and be able to see those reads and those and those coverages, over and over and over, and just become consistent at doing it.
For a guy that's, as you mentioned, started since he was a freshman, he's gonna show up on campus, Marcus, and there's gonna be a logjam. There's gonna be a lot of talented guys ahead of him. Is he? How do you think he'll handle not playing as a freshman if he has to wait his turn?
I think he's gonna handle it well. I mean, he's a guy that knows, the things he needs to do, and I think whether he's on the field playing or playing actually in games, I think he's still going to be that guy that's going to be that leader, that's going to come out and work hard in practice, going to keep learning, keep trying to get better, and that's what you're going to get. I mean, whether he's the starter or not.
Marcus, can he get bigger? Do you think? By the way, I've seen him listed anywhere from 6'2" to 6'4". Do you know how big Rickie actually is?
He's pushing right at the 6'3" mark.
Okay. So if he's right about 6'3", does he have the frame? Looks like he's got the frame to put on more weight as well. Like, I'll ask you as a quarterback, what would be a good weight, a good size where you feel like you're still quick and agile and you can do everything, but not too big?
I think around 205, 210 up in there. He's sitting around about 195 right now. Okay. So he definitely have some room to grow. And he's still young. I mean, a lot of people don't know. I mean, he just made 17, so he's a young guy.
Wow.
So he's going to definitely put on some more pounds, and he's going to get a little bit more truer as he keep growing. I think the ceiling is obviously very, very high still for him.
How the Panthers going to be this year, man?
Man, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. Man, we got a senior-laden team. I'm excited to see these guys go out and compete. I mean, you're talking about guys that came here when I first got here, in the senior class, and that's been having to battle even through that first year of of us trying to, turn the tide and then going into year 2 and 3 and being able to win district in year 3. And these guys been playing since, 9th, 10th grade. So I'm very eager to see these guys go out and see the growth they've made over this past year.
October 21st against the Bears. I got it circled. Hey.
You got it circled. I know it's one game at a time. It's one game at a time.
You have to take it one game at a time.
Yeah, but we got a few games. I had my man Todd McClure. As soon as they announced the ESPN game, he started texting and sending messages to me about Zachary. I'm like, whoa. Hold on. Yeah, but
Marcus,
but yeah.
It is amazing though, man. The talent in the city of Baton Rouge right now at the high
crazy.
School level.
Yeah, it's crazy right now. I don't even think I ever seen it this loaded in Baton Rouge. I'm not even just Louisiana, but in Baton Rouge. It's Power 5 guys all over, and a lot of them in our district.
Yeah.
So, you're talking about guys that we're going to see play for a long time, and eventually a lot of these guys are going to be playing on Sundays.
He is Marcus Randall, giving us a little insight there to Rickie Collins, who picked the Tigers on Wednesday night. Man, it's always great to chat. Best of luck to you and the team this year, and we appreciate a couple of minutes as always, man.
All right, man. I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you. That is Marcus Randall. This is After Further Review. We're brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You know the drill. Man, it is football season. It's here. You got 2 preseason games tonight. I mean, if you are that kind of fiending for football, you want to gamble on the preseason games tonight, you can do it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Remember, new customers use the promo code Baton Rouge, and you can get up to $1,000 risk-free on your first bet at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Be sure to use the promo code Baton Rouge when you do. That way the folks at DraftKings know we sent you. That's also how you unlock these great codes. So remember, use the code Baton Rouge, one word, Baton Rouge, at the DraftKings Sportsbook. If it's futures for college football or the NFL, you want to bet on Major League Baseball, you can do it. MMA, golf, doesn't matter. Live in-game betting, props, same-game parlays. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. It's all there for you at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code Baton Rouge. 21 and older, physically present in Louisiana. Availability varies by parish. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full terms and conditions. Licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-7-STOP. I was thinking about that when Marcus was saying it was Woodlawn, and I didn't even realize that the Woodlawn and Zachary are going to play a game apparently on ESPN. It's what he just said there. Forgive me, I didn't know that was happening. But when you think about, so Marcus and I were the same year. He was at Glen Oaks. I was like, look, let's be real. I'm not saying like we were in any way contemporaries based on ability. Like he played quarterback at LSU. Okay, but my point is like just in the era. And we were in the same district with those guys. So we played against Marcus. And, every now and again, there were guys who came through that were really good. Like Catholic had some really good players at the time. A lot of people remember Travis Minor and work done and Major Applewhite and some of those guys. But by and large, every now and again, like a Mueldy Moore at Bel Air would pop. Jimmy Williams, may he rest in peace, of course, at Episcopal, who went to Vanderbilt. But the depth of talent in the city wasn't really there. Not at the level it is now. When you think like Emory Jones, who just committed, who just is a freshman at LSU, but like Shelton Sampson, 5-star wide receiver, Rickie Collins, 4-star quarterback, Eli Holstein, 4-star quarterback going to Alabama. I mean, you can run through Caleb Jackson, the running back at Liberty Magnet, who's committed to LSU. Man, there is just a ton of talent in this city right now, which is just it typically has always been in Louisiana. And this is something that bodes very well for LSU moving forward. It has typically been New Orleans and North Louisiana, right? The athletes that come out of New Orleans, and then a lot of like the linemen and the big dudes that come out of North Louisiana. That's always been the focus of this state. And every now and again, you'd have some players at a Baton Rouge. The Acadiana would produce some players for sure, but that's where the glut of the talent's been. Baton Rouge has got a ton of talent and has continued to develop, which is it's so encouraging, man. You grow up and you can play for the school in your city. It's incredible. So Marcus Randall Marcus turned into a great coach as well. I mean, he won championships at Southern Lab, and now he's doing a great thing at Woodlawn. Got that program going in the right direction as well. All right, y'all. It's after further review. Well, normally we have Otter Locks. Remember, Jimmy's traveling today, so no Otter Locks. When we come back, a few more little tidbits from LSU practice today. Excuse me, I've just got papers everywhere. The one thing that I haven't gotten into yet that I wanted to, and so we'll do this as we wrap up, was some very pointed comments that Brian Kelly made about receiver Kyron Lacey. And then also, if we have time, Brian Kelly talking about the offensive line developing some continuity. We'll get into that. It's been a jam-packed, wall-to-wall football show. It's been a lot of fun, and we're glad to have you aboard with us here. We got one segment to go. Stay here.
AFR.
Hey, I want to take 60 seconds and remind you about Clegg's Nursery. 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Tell you every day, Siegen near Airline. If you're heading toward Airline away from I-10, it's on the left just before you get to Airline. LA-16 in Denham. So if there's not another garden center within a 5-mile radius of the Clegg's in Denham on LA-16, you know exactly where it is if you live in Denham. Mid-City, got you covered on Donmore. If you're on Florida, you turn on a Donmore. It's right there on the right. And then Greenwell Springs, if you're leaving Central on Greenwell Springs, look to the right. You can't miss it. You know where it is. It's Clegg's Nursery. They're partnered with True Value Hardware Store. Full greenhouses. And their plants and flowers are all acclimated to South Louisiana because they're grown here. But remember, partnered with True Value Hardware Store. So whatever you'd find at a True Value Hardware Store, if you need hammers and nails or spray paint and duct tape or garden tools, they've got it at Clegg's Nursery. And remember, pick up a Spartan Mosquito Eradicator. You've heard me talk about it for years. Little tube, knock out mosquitoes 90 days at a time, super affordably. Buy local, shop local. Clegg's Nursery.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate today at revelryteam.com. Revelry Sports, the official tailgate partner of LSU Athletics.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
ITI's got all these programs. Once I started and learned everything about the school, it was worth it.
The challenges that ITI presented me with, it allowed me to build myself up.
All because of ITI, I actually was able to get a job within 3 months before graduation in my field.
Get the hands-on training you need for the job you've always wanted. With so many companies hiring right now, it's the perfect time to come to ITI Technical College. Enroll today for a better life.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to LAcontractor.org.
after further review with Matt Moscona. Presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
I'm going to move quickly here. Down the stretch we come. Final segment here on a Thursday edition of AFR presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. I want to move quickly because there's two things that I want to get to. Remember, if you didn't remember, early in the show, we played play the Brian Thomas cut again, if you would, Muse. This is number 9. I don't want to play it in its entirety, but play it, please.
He'll be a contributor. He needs to be a key contributor. There's a difference between a contributor and a key contributor in the sense that, as I look at it, the consistency of performance has to be such that he can step in and be a starter for us. I think at times, he still thinks he's a freshman, and he's not anymore.
Okay. He went on to he gushed about Brian Thomas, just physically one of the strongest players on the team, and the raw ability he has, but very candid there, saying he's got to realize he's not a freshman anymore, and play like an upperclassman. There was a lot of that today from Brian Kelly, not just about Brian Thomas, but when he talked about a lot of different guys, including another receiver in Kyron Lacey.
We think Kyron has certainly the athletic ability. I think for Kyron, it's, at times, confidence is a choice, and he's got to choose that every day. He's got to play with great confidence, and we can't play with confidence for him. He's got to do it himself, and we really think he's a great player, and some days he doesn't bring that same mindset every day, and we just need to encourage him to choose confidence every day. And if he does that, I think he's going to have a great season for us.
When we opened the show, I mentioned that it was interesting to go watch a 2-hour practice, to take a ton of notes, to watch as much as you can, and to have thoughts about practice, observations, and then immediately to go into a press conference with the head coach and see what the head coach thought. Well, the reason the Kyron Lacey question came up today was because Kyron Lacey had a great day today. He was running second behind Kayshon Boutte in the receiver drills and was all over the field today. Made some great catches. So it was like, hey, look at that guy. And then the response from Brian Kelly is, he's got to choose confidence. Well, days like today would help, but it makes you realize, man, there's some days when we're not out there watching where maybe he isn't comfortable looking eye to eye with one of the best corners on the team. And when you're Kyron Lacey and you're coming from a smaller school and now you're taking that step up in competition, maybe you got to feel like you belong. And how quickly does that come? Like, you don't worry about that with Kayshon Boutte. I mean, there's some guy. You don't worry about that with Malik Neighbors. Neighbors caught a couple of touchdowns in that red zone drill, and every time Malik Neighbors caught a touchdown, cameras are rolling. They picked up Malik Neighbors' John because that dude has, like, alpha factors to him. He's got the whatever your diva, whatever receiver mentality, whatever adjectives get thrown out about receivers, Malik Neighbors got it. Because they're working on it now with Kyron Lacey. And last thing is offensive line. So Garrett Dellinger, Brian Kelly said, had a really good day snapping the football, which he did, except for one errant snap when the rain started. But they've run out the same starting 5 now for the 2 opportunities we've had to see them. What about the continuity on the offensive line? Here's Brian Kelly.
It's a new unit that's coming together. So in a large degree, you have 5 new guys playing together. So I think the comparison would be that there's physical ability there that matches, but there's not the continuity. And then there's inexperience at the center position. Garrett's playing there for the first time. And he's doing a really good job. Obviously, becoming a center overnight is not the ideal situation for anyone, especially in the SEC West. But, he's a guy that has a high football IQ. He's physically gifted, and he's got a strong mindset that he wants to go in and do it. So it's continuity with the 5 is where we're needing to continue to grow, but we've got time to do it. And I think if they continue to work together, I think we're going to have a nice unit there.
We actually had a very good conversation last night on Scone and T-Bob and I did about this very thing. And I asked him the question that I asked you all yesterday on the show, which is, did you feel better about the offensive line last year or this year? Now, keep in mind, last year you returned everybody. But the thing that I said all summer long was, and I used this line over and over again, just because you have everybody back from a unit that wasn't very good doesn't necessarily mean you're better. And they weren't. That unit struggled a lot last year. Even though you had Deculus and Ingram and Hines and Shanahan, a lot of guys that had played a lot of football and played a lot of football together. But, man, they struggled last year, especially for the first half of the season. But you look at this unit here, and you have no returning starters. Looks like you're going to have a true freshman at left tackle, a center that has literally never played the position. There, 2 transfers. Like, that generally is a recipe for disaster. But and I would highly recommend, if you can sift through all the nonsense with me and T-Bob on the show sometimes, go back and listen to the conversation we had on Scone and T last night. And, of course, T-Bob's perspective, having played offensive line, for a lot of different units at LSU. The really interesting part of it was you are certainly a more talented group this year. But the word Brian Kelly used, continuity. Can those 5 really talented guys come together to form one unit? If so, that unit might be better than all of us think. All right, it's going to do it for us here on a Thursday edition of AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. If you miss anything, AFR On Demand, presented by Breck Golf. Have an awesome night. Muse Pauly, thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
AFR.
As we get on down the road, we remind you about Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows, doors, siding, Relief Windows, and ReliefWindows.com. That's right, windows, doors, siding, Relief Windows. Talk all the time about the energy-efficient replacement windows and obviously the beautiful entry doors. But remember, Relief Windows is also hardy plank and vinyl siding. If you essentially want to transform the exterior look of your home in about 2 weeks' time, you can do it with hardy plank or vinyl siding from Relief Windows. You can learn more online at ReliefWindows.com. You can give them a buzz at 288-8138, 288-8138, or go into their showroom. Remember, that siding comes finished in whatever color you want. It lasts, won't chip, crack, peel, all that sort of stuff, and you always get the quality of Relief Windows. Financing is available. Learn more at ReliefWindows.com. That's ReliefWindows.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate today at revelryteam.com. Revelry Sports, the official tailgate partner of LSU Athletics.